the time yet. Whoa.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewind, episode number 21 for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. My name is Marty Sleva, and I'm joined by Darren Mooney, Jack Packard, and producer Eric. We got a wonderful little show for you guys tonight. We're going to be chatting about Thunderbolts, Asterix, the 36th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We all saw it. We'll be chatting about that. We'll also be chatting a little bit about this Kung Fury 2 movie, which had a quote unquote leak that, listen, Jack is calling shenanigans on, and Jack has some thoughts about shenanigan based leaks.
A Ryan Reynolds, if you will.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get to that. Ryan Reynolds had some scruples.
And then kind of want to just go over, I made a big list of kind of the big movies coming out this summer. Just sort of run through them week by week, temperature check, what we're excited for, what we think is going to do well, what we think is not going to do well, and then, of course, what we've been watching. We've been watching stuff. Sometimes we watch stuff. You can't stop us.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I think the one thing that I would like to start about, kind of as a preamble into Thunderbolts, is this idea. So there are two types of movie theaters that I go to here in Milwaukee. One is my art house cinema, and one is the big Cineplex, right? The art house cinema, you go, they play 2, maybe 3 trailers, and then they have like a 2-minute little, hey, we are historically preserving this art house cinema. If you want to, give us some money, give us some money. Like, we are talking 10, maybe 12 minutes of preamble before the movie starts.
Does the preamble start when the ticket says
the start time on the ticket? Yeah,
at the start time on the ticket. Right. Yesterday, I set a stopwatch because I went to the Cineplex, the big chain movie theaters. 32 minutes. The movie started 32 minutes after the start time on the ticket. Unacceptable.
There was a lawsuit in China, right? There was a lawsuit in China where now tickets in China have to have the time the movie actually starts on them. They have the recommended seating time and the time that the movie actually starts because of a lawsuit, which I kind of love. It feels like it's I don't know that it would work in the States. I think that would be seen as like impugning on free enterprise. This Supreme Court may be a little pro-business, possibly, Darren says, not to put my political analyst hat on. But like there was in China a lawsuit that basically led to, well, we're putting the start time on the tickets of the movie.
My thing is, I'm fine for as many trailers as you want to air. Just put them before the time on the ticket. Run an hour of trailers beforehand. And I might get there an hour beforehand. Just be like, I'll watch movies. But like, I want to know when I'm going to get out of the movie. I want to know if the movie is 2 hours long and it starts at 6 o'clock. I want to know that I'm going to be done by 8, not by 8:45, because time is weird.
Do you guys know? Okay, well, look, in Ireland, we do put the start time is the time the credit or the trailer start, generally speaking. Yeah. And we do also have the end time, but the end time is the trailer time plus you guys don't have an end time.
We don't have an end time.
We don't have end times on tickets.
In America, the end time is constantly tomorrow. We just constantly have this feeling of the end is tomorrow. This is our final day.
And by the way, that would solve a ton of my problems. And then if it said, "Hey, you will be out at this time," I don't know if I would.
You have to reverse engineer it. Yeah, you have to reverse. Like you have to do a little bit of work to figure out when the movie starts. Just basic maths and a bit of Google, but you can figure it out. I mean, I will say, similar to Marty, I do not like advertisements in cinemas. I hate when they do TV ads in cinemas. That just really bugs me. I don't like being forced to watch TV ads. As many trailers as you want. The thing I have discovered in Ireland, and maybe this is just a small cinema thing, but basically, if you go to a cinema and you go to the last screening at the cinema that is staffed by teenagers who are, not getting paid by the hour, but by the shift, I guarantee you the latest screenings will always, the trailers will start rolling 10 minutes before the showtime, so that when the showtime hits, the logos of the company start playing. I do want to shout out, I don't know if I should name them because they might get fired, but one of my local Cineplexes does that, and I love them so much.
They play the movie at 1.5 speed as well, so you just get on with your day. They're going very fast in Thunderbolts.
And that's like I had a 6:40 Thunderbolts screening last night. 6:40. We get 10 minutes of advertising, no trailers, just the first 10 solid minutes, nothing but ads, and then a little ad for buying ad space in the theater. Then
Which
we
they
get
obviously don't need after 10 minutes of ads.
Right?
It boggles my mind when the theater has an ad for the theater. I complain about this in videos. I am here. Don't advertise me, advertise other people.
Right.
I am not the problem.
10 to 12 minutes of trailers and then more ads and then ads for the theaters brought to you by a movie. It was insanity. All of this before the movie started, and like my bunch of crunch was almost empty. I'd like to save a little bit of it for the title sequence.
You didn't have a bunch of crunch left, no. I do also, to Marty's point, I am also mildly irritated by like the propaganda ads that are just like, because I get it putting them on TV or whatever, but it's like, I don't need Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio to sell me on the magic of the cinema. I'm already at the cinema.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I don't get it.
Yeah. It is. So yeah, that was a little bit of me just being an old man, but also like the art house cinema, my art house cinema is farther away and they don't have like the big comfy loungers. I will choose that cinema because I know it has a shorter preamble every single goddamn time. Yeah. They were doing a film festival this week, so I couldn't watch Thunderbolts there. Ew, the Milwaukee International Film Festival. Ew.
I mean, Jesus, these big, gigantic blockbusters are just getting squeezed out in the market by these mean, old international films. Will nobody stop and think of like the Walt Disney Corporation I'm seeing here?
Right.
Small little distributors trying to get a leg up.
I think we can all agree, Myth, Milwaukee International Film Festival, the true enemy of the people.
Yeah, true enemy of the people.
Shout out to Myth 2008, where I got to meet Willem Dafoe, though. So never mind.
Hey.
Myth is the friend of me.
Was he Willem the friend?
He was absolutely Willem the friend, not Willem Dafoe. He was Willem Delightful.
Oh, beautiful.
Jack.
Yeah.
After you got through all those credits, I'm imagining you got to see a movie called The Thunderbolts.
I did get to see a movie
as I mentioned, the 36th movie in the MCU, directed by Jack Schreier. He has your name. Well, he has your first name. He doesn't have the rest of your name. Jack Schreier is best known for a couple of smaller movies, Robot and Frank and Paper Towns, as well as he was the showrunner of Beef. Yeah, the Netflix series Beef.
Beautiful
movie. Yeah.
I don't know if he was the showrunner or just the head director. I think
he might have been the head director. That's right. Yeah. Oh, that was a lie. That was one of the 3 lies throughout the podcast. And if you find them all, Jack sends you a prize.
It's true.
Yeah. We make it less fun when we call out the lies though, because everyone. That was a gimme lie.
Yeah.
That was a gimme lie.
That was a demonstration. Yeah, that was like. Now you do it at home, listeners.
The second lie: Willem Dafoe punched me right in the face.
The Jack, third lie is that I will send you a prize.
Jack, what did you think of Thunderbolts?
On my patent pending scale of buncha crunch to nuncha crunch, I give this a sumpcha crunch.
Sumpcha crunch.
And I think that is the general perception is like, overall, I think the movie was fine. I think it was better than okay. Not phenomenal and not terrible. I am frankly shocked that. And maybe this is like, I'm beaten down and just shocked at the little bit of competency, but like they actually made the movie about something. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
Themes. Who would have known?
It has ideas and characters and plot and story and themes. It's all the standard ingredients of a movie. It's incredible.
But Darren, no offense to your Ant-Man's Quantumanias or anything like that, but sometimes we do get these movies that don't necessarily have allegories to them, and this one did. And so I was a little uncomfortable in my big seat going, wait, is this a real movie?
It's about something.
Yeah, Darren, you wrote about the movie in a column the other week. What did you think?
I liked it a lot. Again, it feels like a backhanded compliment to say this is the best of the live action major studio superhero movies since Guardians of the Galaxy. But it turns out there's been like 12 or 15 of them, so it doesn't feel quite as backhanded. No, I had a really, really good time with this. I went in with expectations, as you mentioned, kind of hedged. I think it has been a very rough couple of years for the superhero genre. I think like one of the magic tricks that Thunderbolts does is it is actually kind of about the idea of superhero fatigue. It is, I believe, the end of Marvel Phase 5, heading into Phase 6. But like so much of the starting point of this movie is Julia Louis-Dreyfus sitting before Congress, admitting to the Disney shareholders that we do not have any reliable heroes, then cramming most of Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the MCU into a giant incinerator. And the rest of the movie kind of flows from that. Like, it is a fascinating movie that kind of like works because it grapples with the fact that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not the world conquering force that it was even 5 years ago. Like, it has the smart thing of, and this is just a smart thing in general because it's nice to root for the underdog, but it manages to position not only its characters and its team, but also its very existence as an underdog narrative story, where it's like, this is the movie that's releasing this year in front of like Fantastic Four, which is inexplicably being sold as like the fate of the Marvel Cinematic Universe depends on this franchise that we've tried 3 times before and has never worked in film, but this time it's gonna work, baby. Followed was it preceded by a couple of weeks by Superman, which is another example of this is an iconic character you recognize, but hasn't worked on screen since 1981. And it's like, why are you betting the house on this? Whereas Thunderbolts is like, actually, it's not really working. We don't know what we're doing. We're having a crisis of faith. And to Jack's point, manages to very eloquently tie in that starting premise of the brand is in trouble, the franchise is in trouble, the franchise is lacking direction and purpose and identity, into the idea of, well, what if that is a character arc through the movie? What if our characters are similarly lacking direction, purpose, and agency? And what if their story becomes the meta-narrative of the movie, and it also becomes the meta-narrative of the genre? Because like, this is a movie that is, as you say, about many things. I think it's not just about one thing. It is about like depression on the one hand. It is about this idea of like millennial angst on the other. It is about this question of like, if you're interested in like the state of superhero studios, it is about the idea of superhero fatigue. It is, I think, more broadly about the idea of like what the superhero represents in the Trump era. Like we won't get into spoilers, but like there was a Disney dropped like a huge spoiler 3 days after the movie opened, which kind of recontextualizes the movie in terms of, well, this is part of a larger franchise, and that franchise meant something very different in the Obama era than it does now. And I think that like that is part of the conversation what this movie's doing as well. I had a really good time with it. I do think, to Jack's point, it is not like, it's not Sinners. It is not like a masterpiece of blockbuster cinema. It suffers a bit from the need to be perpetually funny, which is a very strange choice to make in a movie about depression. I don't know if I needed jokes about like big gulps filled with pee or like bottle service in a limo or whatever. I felt like the movie kind of occasionally lost track of itself. I feel like the middle act of the movie is kind of messy as well. It has a very strong start and a very strong end. But the second act of the movie is, how do we get these two to fit together? And it isn't always the most kind of elegant approach. I'm doing a lot of hand work. This is why you should watch the podcast and video.
Yes.
Doing a lot of hand stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's always, it's such a shame. I don't hear much about the Hawkeye Disney Plus series, which honestly was one of my favorite of the series. I thought it had a really great tone, an incredible amount of fun, and it's something that Florence Poe, am I saying that correct?
Pew. I like pew 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 pew.
That
like
Florence Pugh
Darren on Last Jedi.
Yeah, pew pew. It's something that she is incredibly funny in. You know, like great dry deadpan delivery. And so because they are balancing this whole like, no, she's sad, she can't be funny, but also she's doing a 1980s comic Russian accent. So
It is so funny that like Scarlett Johansson was, I will decide based on not movie by movie, but line by line whether I'm doing the accent. And Pugh is like, no, I am a serious actor, comedy 80s Russian accent all the way.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that works in the movie is like, she's magnetic and she's in almost every scene and she's great. Like she is like probably one of my favorite leads of the MCU, maybe ever. Just like like a genuinely magnetic presence, both in terms of the dramatic scenes where, you know, she's talking to her dad, played by David Harbour, and talking about how like she feels purposeless in life and she feels like she's a boat without a rudder. During, I think the funny scenes did work for me. Tonally, they might have felt a little out of place, but I think in a bubble, I felt like the humor did work. And then I thought the action scenes were generally well choreographed and just legible, which is again a low mark to air for action movies in 2025. But I knew what was going on, and I was like, oh, I understand what this room looks like at the very least.
But also all the action sequences have like a game to them, which is like fun. They're not just generic superhero people like CGI people punching each other. Every one of the action scenes in this movie has like a set of rules to it where, like, for example, again, this is be a very light spoiler. The first action sequence is you've got 4 people in a room, each one of which is assigned to kill one specific other person and doesn't care about the other 2. And so you have the interactions of those 2, which allows for like really clever camera movement. And as you say, it makes the action clearly legible. There's a moment where we follow a knife from one end of the fight to the other, which is just like, again, I'm not saying this is virtuoso cinema. I'm not comparing it to Ryan Coogler, like transcending space and time and Sinners, but it is legible in a way that like the action in these movies in general, I'm not specifically talking about the MCU, I'm talking about like modern blockbusters in general, isn't always. And like you have so many of that, like there's a confrontation in the third act, which is shot as a single long take, which is dazzlingly impressive because the rule of that is that it doesn't matter. There are no stakes. There is no chance of the characters accomplishing what they are trying to do. You are just watching them run up against a brick wall, basically. But it is a fun way of navigating an action sequence because the action sequences in these movies don't work this way. I think, like, yeah, to Marty's point, like I think the action is very good here.
You actually remember them, whereas I don't remember any of the action scenes in Captain America 4. I remember the bad cherry blossom.
Oh, you remember Red Hulk?
I remember a Red Hulk. I don't remember what he did. I mean, he probably punched.
I think he passed several executive orders. I think he was one of the most like proactive White Houses, I believe.
He went to sign a document. And he said, "What is this?" And it was like, "How did this guy get elected?" Oh my god!
He put on little Red Hulk spectacles as he was reading them.
Yeah, this does reek, our talking about it reeks a little bit of damnation by faint praise, but it's not faint praise. It's almost shock, for me at least. It is shock that this was allowed within a system that we know can be very constraining towards artistic expression, towards big broad themes like depression, which is like, that's not something that you want, or a Disney executive doesn't want mixing with their fun punching and flipping movie. But it was handled, and again, I hate to sound surprised here, it was handled really well.
One of the screenings I was at, there was a mother with like an 8-year-old kid, and I remember after we were leaving, the mother having to explain to the child what the movie, why was Yelena sad, and like having to explain to her 8-year-old daughter. And I can understand from Disney's point of view why maybe that's not what you want in terms of your blockbuster, but it is so interesting. And I think to your point about like not getting this with movies, honestly, to give the MCU credit, like there was a time when it seemed like it was capable of this, if not consistently, at least often enough to make it worthwhile. And I know I'm going to invoke this person and it's going to be controversial, but like Taika Waititi's Thor Ragnarok, forget about Love and Thunder, but that is a Waititi movie that works. Or Ryan Coogler's Black Panther is a better example, where that is a movie that hits all of the beats of this kind of movie, but is, as you say, about things and has a directorial perspective. Yeah. And it does really feel like a lot of that has got lost, where like, I like Daniel Destin Cretton, I like Just Mercy. I don't know that Shang-Chi has a perspective. I don't know that Shang-Chi has like something to say about the world. Was it Kate Shortland who did Black Widow? Where like I loved like the Berlin Syndrome, I think it was the kidnapping movie that she did with Teresa Palmer. But I watched Black Widow, and that is a movie that is so at odds with itself, where I can tell you intellectually what it's supposed to be about, which is about men controlling women. But I watch it and I'm like, it looks like it's trying to be some sort of like family road trip movie, and that doesn't work. Like, I think
Yeah.
Marvel used to be capable of doing this more consistent. Like, this is a movie that feels like it could have come out in, say, Phase 3, when they seem to be doing this more consistently.
And it's that pairing. To me, the high watermark is and will always be Iron Man 3, which is like the pairing of thematic allegory and action sequence. When we have someone punching, I'm not overstating, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything. We have anti-heroes punching depression, the concept of of the ups and downs of depression, and it works because it's that mixture. Like comic book movies, action movie, or superhero movies, not comic book movies. Superhero movies are supposed to be action movies, and I love action movies. And when we can theme the greater, when we can pair the themes of the action and the allegory together, that's when magic happens. And this sometimes doesn't work, but when it does, it really, really hits hard.
Yeah, especially that final the final kind of set piece in the third act. It reminded me a little bit of how the first Doctor Strange ends, where so many Marvel movies feel like they end with two CGI action figures smashing against each other. And even the good ones sometimes end like that.
Even
like
Black Panther.
Black Panther has a bit of that at the end. You mentioned, Black Widow. Definitely Captain America 4. I think they were doing that in that ugly looking cherry blossom thing.
You don't think they shot that at the real cherry blossoms on Washington DC?
That is the one thing in the movie that gets me mad for some reason.
Marty's like, I'm all in on the leader. Give me more of the Tim Blake Nelson leader. Like,
that wasn't big enough.
I did want more of him. Yes.
But yeah, I really liked how the way Doctor Strange has to deal with the Dormammu situation is really neat, and he can't just punch his way out of it. And in this movie, the way they deal with the thing at the end of the third act with Lewis Pullman, who we haven't mentioned, is sort of the co-lead, Florence Pugh, who is great, and he's a great character to introduce, and he's kind of plays almost like 3 levels of character, and all 3 of the characters I think work really well. The ultimate villain of the movie is very menacing and cool looking. Like, again, these are all like basic things and sound silly, but like the Void is cool looking. Like a silhouette with 2 like pinhole white eyes is cool looking. Also, the whole time I'm thinking, what's Mayor Fisk doing about all this?
What's Spider-Man up to right now?
Imagine his little depression zone he goes in. Everyone forgot about me. Shit sucks.
I feel like Wilson Fisk could be like living his best life inside the depression zone. Like, I really do.
Constantly beating his father to death like he did when he was a kid.
I actually quite enjoy it in here.
Here's Vanessa.
If only you embarrass me in front of Vanessa.
I think I'm going to be honest. The MCU is one of those things you just can't think about too much. If you start thinking about it too much, the entire enterprise crumbles.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kept imagining like Lewis Pullman's head in a car door as like Fisk just keeps trying. It's not working, but he's keeping trying.
He's very strong. I don't know what's happening.
I'm having quite a good time.
I feel like the movie's been out for a couple weeks. I think it's safe to, because I want to talk about some spoiler stuff in the end, some character reveal stuff, and then specifically how the sort of post-credits scene, which was decidedly not shot by Jake Schreier, ties into the future of the MCU. So yeah, the thing Darren mentioned, literally opening weekend, I think by Sunday the movie came out. They started rebranding. Like literally there were like internet videos of Sebastian Stan going to a bus stop and like tearing apart the Thunderbolts poster to reveal
Oscar
the title.
Nominee Sebastian Stan.
Sorry. He played a president. Wasn't a good president, but he played a president. Tearing the Thunder, because it's called Thunderbolts Asterix, and I think a lot of people kind of assume this, tears it apart, and then the title of the movie is The New Avengers, which is what the post-credits scene shows, that Sebastian Stan wanted to create, or I guess under Julia Louis-Dreyfus, wanted to create an Avengers team, went to Sam Wilson and was like, hey, I got a team for you, and Sam Wilson's like, no. I guess he's going to make his own team, or he just was upset he didn't get to choose his roster, and so this is an Avengers team. We'll probably get another Avengers team leading into the next movie. But how did you feel about that, Jack?
To me, that felt a little bit having their cake and wanting to eat it too, because the movie ends on a bit of a gag of scheming, conniving Julia Louis-Dreyfus, kind of talking her way out of a bad situation by announcing our group of misfits as the new Avengers, to the confusion of our misfits and the delight of all of the New Yorkers whomst they just saved. Then in one of the post-credit sequence, like they discover that they are living in Avengers Towers. They have the A logo. They are the Avengers, but they are also complaining that they're not really the Avengers. And so eventually when Disney drags its feet on making the new Avengers movie and none of these people are in it, they'll just go, yep, I guess it's fine. Or if some of them are in it, nothing matters. The post-credit scenes don't matter.
But this one kind of does matter because it was shot on the same sets that they're using to film the new Avengers movie. Is the thing. It was shot by the Russo brothers. Is the the big thing. Like literally, apparently added only weeks before the movie screened, which is always a good sign and always a sign of complete confidence and a great sign that they know what they're doing. They have a plan. They've absolutely figured it out. It's all concrete and ironed down.
It's definitely not weird that several of the main characters of the movie, the actors, have said, "Oh yeah, we don't have a script. I don't know what this movie's about."
I've only read like a line or two. Yeah, like Wyatt Russell's like, I've read a line. That's it. Yeah,
movie's coming out in less than a year. Not worried at all.
I mean, like this is the thing where, setting aside any like actual quality of like the material, but like the thing about like James Gunn's management of the DCU so far, having not seen a film yet, we'll get into that discussion later, is that like he at least has we will have a finished script before we begin shooting, and we will make sure on the other end that we shoot efficiently and that we have like time to do VFX. Like obviously Superman wrapped, I think, like 8 months, maybe 9 months before Fantastic Four, and they're coming out within weeks of each other. You have already like Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which is being directed by the guy who directed I, Tonya. It's Craig Gillespie. That wrapped its filming this week. That is releasing, I think, around the same time, maybe a little bit later than Avengers Secret Wars in 2026. And that has not wrapped shooting.
Or Doomsday.
Like that's Doomsday. Sorry, right? Doomsday. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, Doomsday in 2026. So Doomsday has just started. I think Doomsday hasn't wrapped yet. But yeah, it's like it is insane. It is that's like
took them a lot of time to set up those chairs, Darren. They could have been shooting a movie, but they had to set up 115 chairs in a line.
And like, there's a real, not to get too spoilery, but like the photos that you're seeing from the set, there's a real, who can we get who's affordable energy to the actors who are appearing in this movie, where like it's like your photos include like obviously Robert Downey Jr.'s there because he's the big draw. Chris Hemsworth is there because we got to have Thor, and it's like and the guy who played Condor in Falcon is there too, I guess, and Winston Duke from Black Panther. He's the best we can get from Black Panther
in the first X-Men movie, right? Yeah, Ray Park. You guys like Darth Maul? He's there too. Fuck him. He'll just be Darth Maul. It doesn't matter.
This is our Avengers team. It's quite literally reaching into the barrel and rolling up your sleeve and going, okay, Lupita Nyong'o said no, but we do have Winston Duke.
I mean, to be fair, Deadpool and Wolverine made $1 billion, so if this is just that on steroids, then I'm sure financially the movie will
internet. This is what you get because you all loved Wolverine versus Deadpool. Now it's going to be this kind of slop for the rest of the decade. Come on.
We touched on it earlier, but I am curious, Darren, if you have any thoughts on what happened with Taskmaster in the movie. So she is one of the characters. She was on a lot of the marketing leading into it as one of the members of the Thunderbolts, and she is in that opening sequence or the early action sequence we talk about, where every character is trying to kill another character. But still in the spoiler zone, she just gets shot in the head by a ghost
after a single line. She has one single line, and Olga Kurylenko, the actor, appears like clearly green screened into the mask on the suit, and then gets domed in the head, and then it comes up maybe twice afterwards, and nobody is at any point upset that like Taskmaster, who Yelena was very closely involved with and related to, was murdered by a person that they are traveling with and aligned with. It is a very, very strange choice. This is that second act thing I'm talking about. That's like one of the prime examples of it, where
I actually liked that as a story beat, though, because I think one of the issues that you can run into in a movie like this is just kind of knowing what's going to happen. Like, obviously, it's a Marvel comic book movie. The people who are doing heroics will win in the end. Spoiler alert. That is to be expected. But to me, that set up, knowing nothing about behind the scenes, whatnot, all that did to me was like, oh, maybe one of them could die. Okay, great. I'm okay with this. That set up a reasonable amount of plausible deniability where I could say, oh, maybe the stakes do matter. Maybe this does mean something.
So the writer of one of the writers on the movie,
Eric Pearson, I believe,
Eric Pearson, in an interview said he was surprised when he saw the finished movie because in his version of the script, Taskmaster survives that, and there's a whole recurring bit where so when she was sent down there, she was sent to kill Wyatt Russell's character, John Walker, U.S. agent. But her whole thing is she kind of has like memory loss. And so there's a recurring bit that like every 20 minutes in the movie, she forgets that they're all a team and tries to kill him. And they all have to like stop her and be like, we are on a team. You need to stop doing this, which I think would be very funny if they would have.
Hilarious.
That's a good bit.
It is several things to note about this, which I think is fascinating. First of all, is like, even though Disney immediately pulled the emergency cord, New Avengers advertising, they're still selling the movie as Taskmaster as part of the team, which I love. They will spoil the post-credit scene, but they're like, just so you're clear, everybody's favorite hero, Taskmaster. And in fact, they've actually like CGI Taskmaster into shots where Taskmaster is not in the finished movie as well. So
I like the audience asking, where's Taskmaster?
I like the meta gag of them committing to it. To Jack's point, I don't know that I buy that because none of the other characters die, and like the central point of the movie is that all of these characters are like, they can be healed and are redeemable. Like, like the central, which is something I love about the movie, is the end of the movie, we're kind of in the spoiler zone, doesn't involve like cold-blooded murder of like putting a bullet into somebody's head. It is like, no, it's a hug. It's one of the great things is the advertising for the movie where they're all like battling against each other. The shot in the movie is they're hugging each other, and it's really sweet. And like that kind of jars for me a bit with Taskmaster just getting domed and everybody being like, well, shame about Taskmaster, I guess.
To be fair, Darren, that's the start of the movie. That's where they started, right? They started with like, this is our job. We die sometimes. Fuck it. Bye. And so like, I liked it in that stake. I liked it because we're in the pure spoiler zone. As far as actual shocks, they did walk this one back a little bit. But when the Red Guardian, thank you. The Crimson Chin.
Alexei.
When the Crimson Chin, when the Red Guardian saves the little girl and has like his wonderful moment of being a hero, only for her to get black dusted. Genuinely delightful. Like one little children dying. Beautiful. But like, again, they walked this back a little bit, but like, oh shit, this is different. It has stakes. This feels different than other Marvel movies, and that's what we like. We like it when they feel different.
I do also want to shout out like the credited block on this, which is incredible, where like Olga Kurylenko she's the fourth credited lead on the third title because they split Sebastian Stan and Wyatt Russell. For a single line of dialogue, she is the fourth credited lead. Ghost, who is Hannah John Smith, I think, Hannah John Kamen, is a with and an and. Which is kind of makes me think that originally the roles were meant to be switched, maybe that like it was meant to be like maybe she was meant to be Ghost was meant to be gotten rid of, because like one of the other things you notice structurally about the movie is that like Ghost is the only one of the set with powers. And they have to like reverse Aquaman her, where they have to keep making Ghost useless in order to avoid her solving the movie too quickly. Where it's like, okay, well, we all just walk out of here. It's like, oh no, there's a sound barrier. Oh no, we're getting shot at. Don't worry, I'll take care of this. Oh no, the military jeeps have sound barriers on them too. Can't you just walk through the wall and walk us out of here? It's like, I can't do that because I can only hold my breath for a minute, and it's probably, I don't know. What do you want from me? Yeah. I kind of do wonder if the original plan was for Ghost maybe to be in that kind of position, to be the person who's killed, because then you would have, like, honestly, that line that Yelena has, which is what we all just punch and shoot. Is like, if you get rid of the one person who can actually do stuff.
Yes.
I do wonder if, like, looking at the credits, that was maybe the original plan, perhaps.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
And then they realized not even in the comic books does anyone like Taskmaster. Like, it's just the worst villain.
But Hannah John Kamen is like really good. She's like really charismatic and really pleasant. It's like I think the cast this movie is generally good. And with all due respect to Olga Kurylenko, like I think that like Taskmaster didn't really register that much in like Black Widow. I don't know that she could have registered that much here. But it is jarring because that does feel like, because of the way it's shot, because of the way that it's a single line, a CGI head, a headshot, and the fact that it only fleetingly ever comes up again. I think at one stage Ghost says, that woman I killed back there, she was your friend. And Yelena says, yeah, she had a tough life. She killed people and she died. Tough. And that's really it. That's the only time that it comes up again.
Yeah, but I think it works as kind of a base reality. Like that works as a starting point of like, this is where I am at. This, like, oh yeah, she clocked in, she clocked out, she got fired. Like it's that, like, if we're gonna like corporate metaphor this, which Florence Pugh does a lot, which is just like, yeah, like that's the work day life. My work friend is gone now. I guess I'll find a new work friend. Fine. Yeah.
Also, shout out, this movie's got two good Nepo babies. Shout out to Wyatt Russell and Lewis Pullman.
Yep.
The progeny of Kurt Russell and Bill Pullman, just great. They're both great.
Yeah. Lewis Pullman feels wrong, right? Where it's like he is simultaneously like nerdy guy, like obviously that's his role in Top Gun Maverick, for example, but he's also like handsome leading man guy, where like he is plausible as Superman, and it does feel like, it feels like a very strange market correction to like the 80s when you had like your handsome movie star leads, but you also had your gangly nerdy guys. And it's like, no, now they've all kind of composited into one person. It's like Griffin Newman is now redundant because we have Lewis Pullman, you know?
Yeah.
I think though that's a Pullman though. Like a Pullman is weirdly handsome, like kind of classically handsome, kind of nerdy. Is the fact that he's kind of nerdy make him more approachable and thus more handsome?
But somehow like he has like beady eyes that should be behind big like Coca-Cola glasses, but also a perfectly defined chin. It's an incredible, like, sorry, not to talk about like phrenology of like movie star Nepo babies' faces, but it is just an incredible monument. I want to shout out before we move. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, just on that though, like, I think this new casting in general is a bit of a stark contrast to the original casting. Like, you look at the classic Chris's of the first wave, and just chiseled chins all around, and I don't want this to. I'm going to actually not say what I was about to say. So hold on.
Now the Goblin Go-Go's in the room. Like Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Why did you wait until I had like a mouthful of Lucasade?
The way in which I will reword this is, we have a bunch of people who also seem like normal people.
Sure.
And I really like that. Florence Pugh it has the entire first sequence just wearing sweatpants. And it's like, oh, this looks like a human person living in the real life and not like one of the many chiseled Chris's.
Yeah, or not like how they portray,
like
Scarlett Johansson in Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2, where she has to get naked in the back seat for Jon Favreau, who is also the director of the movie.
Nothing weird about that.
No. I mean, he did go on to. Did you know the movie he made after that, which was like Chef, which is like, by the way, my ex-wife is Sofia Vergara, my new girlfriend is Scarlett Johansson, and my best friend is Robert Downey Jr. And Disney's like, if we let you do this, will you do a Star Wars show for us? Like, sure, why not?
My best friend is Small Yoda.
Right. And so, you have like the extreme butt shots of your Scarlett Johanssons. You have the chiseledness of all the Chris's combined, and the smarmy good looks of Robert Downey Jr. as kind of our first wave direct adaptations of the comic book characters. But now we are getting real life humans in Marvel movies, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Can I throw something out to the group? And again, this is a safe space. I don't want people to get mad.
Okay,
I like Sebastian Stan as an actor. I think he's very good. I think like he's of the like Marvel stars, Stan is the rare one to use his star to actually do something worth doing, where he has used it to make smaller indie projects. I think he's a really charismatic actor. I think he deserved his Oscar nomination. I think he was very good in A Different Man as well, even more so than in The Apprentice last year. He's doing the work. This is not me criticizing Sebastian Stan. Also, I'm a big comic book fan. I like the character of Bucky in comics. I think Ed Brubaker's Bucky is one of the great comic book characters. That said, in the movies, Bucky has never worked for me, right? Bucky is all because, and part of this is just the structure of the movies, where Bucky is always like a plot device, where like Bucky's always something for like Steve to chase or whatever, or he's a killer robot who could be activated with a phrase word or whatever. He's like, he never really feels like an engaging character in these movies to me as an observer. I think this movie made me care about Bucky Barnes. There is the incredible moment when they're, again, in the second act, the troubled second act, but when they're in the limo being chased by Humvees, which is the opening action sequence from the first MCU film, Iron Man. And the movie's going back to 2008, but wait, it's going back even further because all of a sudden the theme starts playing, the music starts rising, a Humvee explodes, dust blows everywhere, and through the cloud of dust rides a man on a motorbike wearing sunglasses, the wind blowing in his hair. He's James Dean with a grenade launcher. He's Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2. He's Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2. He's all of the twos that you could possibly want. And it is like Sebastian Stan looking like a goddamn movie star. And it is like, the MCU, we talked about this. One of the things about the MCU is it's intellectual property first. It arguably killed the movie star. None of the actors, even including Robert Downey Jr., have really managed to transform from MCU leads into movie stars, where Downey can't launch his Doolittle franchise, which is probably for the best, to be clear. But like, if you come off of making the two of the biggest movies of all time and you can't make the talking animal movie, you're not a movie star in the traditional sense, even if they pay you $80 million and give you a trailer encampment at Burbank. But like, I think that the sequence where Bucky rides over the hill, his hair flapping, firing a grenade launcher, blowing up Humvees, is the kind of movie star moment these movies don't generally have. And in that moment, I'm like, my God, what have we missed with Sebastian Stan? Where I always respected him, as I said, as an actor. I think he's a very good performer. I think he's a very generous performer. If you look at things like, say, I, Tonya, or is it Pam and Tommy, for example, I think he's a really good actor. But it's like, I look at that and I'm like, could this man have been like an action lead for 10 years if we had just used him right? Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. They were treating him as a character and not as an actor. They were treating him as the Winter Soldier. He was the little doll in those movies, and he didn't necessarily have a performance. Here, dare I say, he had a layered performance, not just as, a former sad boy, but also now like the dual responsibility of working with the red tape or just taking action. He had nuance to his characters. How weird.
In his opening scene, he quotes Kierkegaard. Like, he quotes the philosopher Kierkegaard about how, I believe it's up to individuals to create their own values. And I'm like, that is not nonsense. Somehow in this film, that is a thematically relevant point the character is laying out as an introductory scene to set up his arc over the course of the movie, where he goes from being kind of like, as you said, the sad boy, modern superhero wrangled in red tape and politics and congressional hearings like so many superheroes are, not to point any fingers, but we did literally have a movie about what if the Red Hulk was president, and instead going, can't we go back to the good old days when like our action heroes used to just like, they weren't politicians, they weren't presidents, they weren't congressmen. They used to ride motorbikes and let leather jackets flap in the wind and fire grenade launchers at Humvees. Can't we go back to those innocent, better times? And like, I'm like, that is beautiful. That is actually a profound statement in some weird way in the midst of this incredible, silly action sequence.
Well, I had you get him ripping a shotgun out of a guy's hands, twirling it midair. It's beautiful. No, beautiful scene. Sorry.
I had Terminator 2. It's pure Terminator 2. Like, sorry,
I had the same moment of realization, but it was when he was eating that sloppy meatball sub over the classified documents and got sauce all over them, which is the most reckless thing in this movie. Like, what an insane way to eat a sloppy meatball sub over classified documents. What are you doing while you're dishwashing your vibranium arm?
And here's the thing, though, Marty, the movie knows what it's doing, because it is one of, like, I think 3 occasions over the course of the movie that is structured to have Sebastian Stan take off a shirt and reveal like a wife beater, either white or black underneath, so that you can get 2 tickets to the gun show, baby. Like, it is a movie that knows what it's doing and how it's doing it.
That's how
nothing
you get that
sloppy
body
about this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
There's one Disney executive who was like, but how do we get the shirt off?
Oh shit, right at the last minute. We had a Quiznos sponsorship. Fuck, how do we get it in the movie?
I have test audiences loved it. They had one question. They noted that Bucky was wearing a shirt in one scene and a wife beater vest in the other. If you could add some just connecting tissue there, that'd be fine.
Continuity is really important to our audience, and some intern, some runner was like, "I got your meatball sub, Mr. Sebastian," and someone goes, "Aha!"
I also do love that, like, to Marty's point about it being a new Avengers movie, it is a movie that is in conversation with the Avengers from 2012. Like, I like how much this movie is like even before the reveal of the title. And to Marty's point, it's very telling that like Disney put up the new Avengers posters on Monday, and by I think Thursday they had replaced them with Stitch posters. Stitch had like chest burst out of the posters, which feels like it defeats the purpose of like the like rebranding advertising campaign. If I'm Jake Schreier, I'm like, okay, so you gave me the spotlight from Monday to Thursday of my second week. Thanks, Disney. Really appreciate the leg up.
Stitch
but like,
Summer's here, though. Yeah.
Stitch Summer's here. It's going to be massive, depressingly. Yeah. Like, people are like, Snow White killed the live action Disney adaptations. Yay, the witch is dead. And I'm like, you don't get to say that until How to Train Your Dragon, which I know is not a Disney production, and Lilo and Stitch are out. Those things are going to be monsters this summer. Yeah, really but like, I love the fact that this is an Avengers movie. Like, the end of it is shot like the Avengers. The end of it is designed to evoke the Avengers, take place in New York in the shadow of like Avengers Tower. And I love that it's like the Avengers was for the Obama era, which was this big, hopeful, optimistic American exceptionalism thing. This is instead like that, but for the Trump era, which is like, can we salvage anything from this situation? Is there anything that we can recover from this? Can we interrogate what it means to be heroes? Because like I actually found myself really moved by the sequence where they've split up after their argument and they've gone their separate ways, but they all come back to save civilians. There's no sequence of punching. Throughout the movie, punching is completely useless. I actually love that this is a superhero movie where all of the action sequences, even though they're well shot, are completely pointless. We mentioned the 4 trying to kill each other sequence, which is just distracting them while they're being heated up inside an incinerator. You have the sequence where they break into Avengers Tower, like attack all the guards, and like Defontaine's like, I left the door unlocked. I was expecting you guys. And then you have like the really great sequence with Sentry, where they all attack Sentry up in the penthouse. And it is, again, it's very well shot. It's all done in like a long take of each of the Avengers in turn just getting themselves handed to themselves by Sentry. But like, violence is completely useless in this movie, and instead you have this idea of, what if for decades we treated the superhero as like a soldier, as this metaphor for like the war on terror, 9/11. This is a movie where you have a huge shadow extending over the streets of Manhattan. You have silence falling on the island. You have this shot of One Freedom Plaza being literally swallowed by a black plume of smoke. It is a movie that is very much in conversation with the 9/11 imagery of the superhero genre as a whole, that has been particularly pronounced since, The Dark Knight, but especially since Avengers. But instead of being, what if our superheroes were soldiers who carried guns and murdered people extrajudicially? This is like, what if they were first responders? What if our heroes, like, their primary concern wasn't hurting people or avenging people, if you will, but instead protecting them? That moment where, having all gone their separate ways, like, the void stuff starts happening, and then one at a time, they all just kind of come back and have a little moment where they save somebody. It is like, really, really, really impressive filmmaking. And I was like, I don't know that I have felt this for a superhero movie in a long time, where I'm like, I am incredibly on board with what is happening, and I love this, and my guys are doing good for my guys. Good for them.
And this happens in the middle of just, very explicitly, like, giving big character emotional moments. This sets up the final versus the big bad action sequence, which, as we said, again, like, violence, quite poignantly, the enemy in this movie isn't a bad guy. It is violence itself. It's shocking. I have to stop saying I'm shocked by this, because like, it is just quality filmmaking, but it's quality filmmaking because they actually said something. And to be fair, I think they were only allowed to say something because of the state of the Marvel franchise right now, where Marvel is finally giving its filmmakers a little more leeway.
I suspect also because Kevin Feige is paying much closer attention to another movie that's releasing this year.
Exactly. This came between the $400 million Red Hulk movie. I think that number keeps going up every time I say it, but it's fine. It was between the $400 million Red Hulk movie and, like you said, the movie that feels make or break, but isn't, because the next two movies are going to make $2 billion a piece. Next three, I guess, because there's gonna be a Spider-Man movie in the middle of there. So yeah, I guess that's Sony money.
Which also has not begun production.
Fine, it's fine. There'll be a black cat or something in it. Everyone shut up. Everyone will be fine.
The first time I saw the Fantastic Four trailer was before the Thunderbolts.
Oh, wow.
And I need to tell you, I still absolutely do not care about this movie whatsoever.
But what you don't realize is that at the end of the movie, their ship's going to enter our universe because it crashes into Avengers Tower or whatever the hell that.
Yeah, whatever. I've never cared about the Fantastic Four. I continue not to care about the Fantastic Four.
Well, this could be a good segue into our running down summer movies because that is one of the tentpoles of summer.
Yeah.
Sure.
If we want to start doing
nice
that.
Unbearable image there, Eric.
Yes.
Because he's from the guy from the. Anyway, never mind.
And he's tasting the sauce. Hey, it's pretty good sauce.
Yes, chef. I think he says. I think he actually maybe says yes, chef, or needs more salt, chef.
Oh my god, what a fucking film! But you know what? Summer's already begun. I'm going to say summer began with Sinners. It's fine. Summer can start in April. That's fine.
Summer has been the past month has been great, and it's like there is this sense of void, like encroaching darkness on the horizon, which is really depressing.
Everything's gonna be fine. Final Destination Bloodlines comes out this weekend. Darren, have you seen Final Destination Bloodlines? Darren, can you tell us if it's a film of the year contender?
No, it is not. Final Destination Blood. Sorry, I should put my
hits, no gags, no.
I need to let Marty down quickly. I need to be clean.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Need to be quick and clean. like death, murdering some poor innocent teenager who had the tenacity to survive some horrible incident. I should put my hands up and say I'm kind of mixed on the Final Destination franchise. I think 1, 3, and 5 are great. Like Final Destination 5 is inexplicably maybe the best movie in the franchise, which is really strange given they stopped making Final Destination movies after that. The thing with Bloodlines, which is interesting, is, first of all, it is very much more like 2 and 4 in that it veers much more into comedy, which is something that, some people like about the movie. I kind of bounce off those movies in part because of that. It's just not what I react to in a horror, and that's okay. The other thing about it, which is really interesting, is that the Final Destination movies are so specifically a product of their cultural moment, where they are specifically a particular kind of movie. They're a slasher movie where the guy with the knife is death itself, right? It is such an end of history, fin to cycle, unipolar moment kind of idea, which is, what if we did a slasher movie and the ultimate slasher was death? But it is kind of steeped in this idea of life is tough and accidents happen and it's just bad luck. And when your number's up, tough luck, your number's up. There's no rhyme or reason to it. The thing about the Final Destination movies, which is interesting, is there's no transgression. The kids don't do anything wrong in those movies. They don't have premarital sex or whatever. They don't go down to the cabin where the creepy old guy tells them not to go. They just have the tenacity to survive an incident that should have brutally murdered them. And the movie's you don't get to do that. And I think my problem with Bloodlines is that Bloodlines is very clearly a movie that exists in the shadow of the modern wave of franchise horror films. I'm thinking particularly of the Scream reboot and the Halloween reboot. And I say that quite liking David Gordon Green's 2018 Halloween, for example. I'm less fond of Scream 5, but I do like it a bit. But I think that this is very clearly trying to do for this franchise what those movies did for those franchises, which is to add a whole bunch of lore on top, create an everything's connected mythology, which is not what you want to be thinking about while watching a movie in which the slasher villain is death itself. The other thing is that it tries to heap on this weird maternal intergenerational trauma, which is very clearly ported over from Halloween, where the premise of this movie, very broadly, no spoilers, the opening 10 minutes of the movie and in all the trailers, is that in 1968, a woman survived a Final Destination-esque incident and then went on to start a family where she had kids, and those kids had kids, and created a family. And all the survivors of that incident have like created families. And every previous Final Destination movie has been death slowly working its way through the branches of the family trees of the people that it failed to kill in 1968, which is a very silly premise for a movie because it just invites you to wonder if all of the other deaths in the Final Destination movies were like messed with or premonitioned because death was like tidying up after itself. Why were there premonitions in 1968? What caused 1968? You can't just pick that as an arbitrary starting point. But setting that like
that's the at the height of kind of marijuana usage, so death was getting real high and a little forgetful. If you know, that's death's beatnik era.
I mean, like. My hot take on the Final Destination movies is that they're so 90s. They're like, what if Death was a Coen Brothers hitman and not Anton Chigurh? Where like Death is just constantly trying to clean up after its own mess. Like the great thing about Final Destination 5, and this is a minor spoiler, is that the end of Final Destination 5 is the start of Final Destination. So like Death spends all of Final Destination 5 trying to kill these two kids, and it gets them on an airplane, and it's like, I know how to kill these two kids. Now they're on an airplane. I'm gonna blow up the airplane. Except, of course, the kids escape from the airplane, and they're like, damn, now I've got a whole other mess to clean up. And it is very much like a Coen Brothers-esque. The bullet went through the wall, hit the wrong person. I shot him in the ass. It's John Travolta in like Pulp Fiction. It's like, I shot Marvin in the face. Death is like desperately trying to tidy everything up before the boss comes back from holidays, and is like, well, what's the deal? Anything interesting happen while I'm gone?
And you're saying you don't like it when it gets farcical.
It should be funny to death, not to anybody else.
Also, death. Let me tell you. You know what? You know what'd be great? Heart attacks. Just give everyone heart attacks. Yeah, very easy way to solve
aneurysms. Yeah.
Tons of crazy ways. Yeah.
Again, this ties into that like 90s Coen Brothers hit where Death is overconfident. You watch those movies and Death is so overconfident in its own abilities. It's like, no. Plane crash, log jam, the most surreal gym death you have ever seen. Like Death
the
is
roller coaster one. Roller coaster one's good.
Yeah, that's 3, which is again like, and I like 1, 3, and 5. But the problem with Bloodlines is, to get back to it, is that like it also, because it goes back and it retroactively creates a 1968 incident, it tries to retrofit like an original final girl, like Laurie Strode, for example, in Halloween 2018, like Sidney Campbell in the Scream reboot, where like we're introduced to this old woman who is living alone in a compound, like a survivalist style, like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018. But the reason why that worked in like Halloween 2018 wasn't because I was like, woo, old women living in survivalist compounds, that's the itch I need you to scratch. It's because I have an emotional attachment to Jamie Lee Curtis, future Oscar winner and Hollywood royalty, who has been doing this since the 1970s. And when you try to shortcut that by like basically saying, no, but we had somebody there from the 60s, I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't have any emotional investment. And you're just adding a bunch of lore that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And like the third and final problem with it is that, like Halloween 2018, like Scream, like so many of the modern like franchise requels, this is aspiring to be a blockbuster movie. This is very consciously trying to be a big movie. It's very consciously aiming to be the Final Destination movie for a new generation. It's not Final Destination 6, it's Final Destination Bloodlines. You don't have to have seen any of the previous Final Destination films. Trust me, you do not have to have seen. There's so much lore here. You do not have to. They will explain it to you. You will be able to follow it, I promise.
I don't want to.
But like the thing about the Final Destination movies is that their death sequences are grimy and kind of exploitation-y, and sometimes they're elaborate, but often they're very simple. Somebody gets like poked in an eye, or hit by a flying piece of metal, or thrown off a high ceiling onto a hook. Like their death sequences are elaborate and Rube Goldberg, but they are not blockbuster-esque sequences. And the problem with Bloodlines is that in order to compete with what it sees as Halloween, and it sees as like where, you know, the recent Saw movies are, the recent Scream movies are, it has to become bigger in terms of scale and spectacle. You can tell that they spent a bit more money on this one. So the death sequences are more elaborate, and that means there are fewer of them, which means that you end up like killing multiple characters in single set pieces, which just to me feels like a cheat. I like, if I'm watching a Final Destination movie and I got like 6 teenagers in front of me, I'm like, I'm going to get at least 5 incredibly like ridiculous death sequences. Whereas here it feels like you'll get 2 really good ones And then we'll deal with like the one left over very, very quickly. We promise you. It's a very interesting like example of how we've changed making horror movies and how that affects the rhythm of the kind of movies we make, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe it. I'm still going to.
No, you're going to come 2 weeks from now and be like, movie of the summer. Yeah.
Movie of the summer.
Yeah. So which one, if was 5 your favorite of the ones you watched all of them, but did 5 end up being your favorite?
5, 1, 3, 2.
So what you're saying is if they make 4. One more, it's an odd number one, and you're gonna like it.
It's the reverse Star Trek. They have the reverse Star Trek effect. But no, like one is the original, one is the one with the plane sequence, right? Mm-hmm. And I know you love 2 with the log truck. The log truck in 2 is incredible. The problem is that there's 80 minutes of movie after the log truck in 2.
Not if you turn it off. It's like it's a tight 15 if you just turn it off after that.
Yeah. 3 has Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it and has, as you mentioned, the roller coaster sequence, which is incredible, and a number of other deaths. 5, I think, just has 5 is in 3D, which is the most we know exactly what this movie is and who the target audience is. And so it's full of like deaths that are full of point things go through people. Like it is a movie that has been consciously designed to give you exactly what you think 3D should give you. I think like that's why I like 1, 3, and 5. That's my argument for them.
There you go. Final Destination, the biggest movie this summer. I think it's going to be the biggest blockbuster of the summer, personally. We'll come back to that.
Budget to box office, there's a decent chance.
Could be. Unless either Hurry Up Tomorrow or Friendship with both also come out this weekend. Theoretically, neither of them are playing at my theater, and I don't like what's going on here. Hurry Up Tomorrow is the low-budget horror movie starring The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega, where she and like The Weeknd plays The Weeknd, and Jenna Ortega is like stalks him and then miseries him seemingly. Like,
okay,
I don't know what's going on. I'm intrigued by it. Trailer is intriguing, and then Friendship is the A24 comedy starring Tim Robinson of I Think You Should Leave and Paul Rudd, which I've heard nothing but great things about. So very excited about this one. I've heard it's one of the funniest movies in years. If you are to that kind of speed of that comedy, which I am. That is my speed.
No, apparently, like it's watch a couple episodes of I Think You Should Leave first, just to get on board with awkward comedy.
And then rewatch them because they are literally perfect.
Agreed. My brother was so angry when I recommended that to him, and not because I didn't recommend it sooner.
I think there is a large group of normies who will watch that and hate it. But
absolutely. And you can just cut those people out of your life. So very easy. May 23rd, we have the aforementioned Lilo and Stitch live action remake, and then Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, which first impressions have started trickling out a little more lukewarm than I expected. From
seeing
some
it tomorrow morning.
Ooh, okay. So we'll save our judgment calls. Apparently, it's like almost 3 hours long, which is great. Whatever. Just keep putting all the movie in there. It's fine.
It's 3 hours long, and apparently the first hour is just exposition because they're assuming that people may not have watched Dead Reckoning based on the box office performance of Dead Reckoning, is what I'm hearing.
There was a lady in 1968 who avoided death.
Who took on a mission some said to be impossible.
Some said. Jack, what's your temperature on Mission Impossible series? I know Darren and I are big fans.
I'm a big fan of all that I've seen. I have missed many of them and then caught back up and enjoy. Like, I always think they are perfectly fine, if not very good action spy movies. What's the John Woo one? Is that 2 or 3?
2.
That's 2, yeah.
I mean, you gotta love. I love 2 the way I say I love all the Rocky movies, which I do. Some of them I love for very different reasons.
I love all of my children. There's just some of them I love for different reasons. It's fine.
Some of them just take longer to explain why I love them.
I mean, my favorite description of 2 is that it's the most expensive shaving commercial ever made, which just feels right.
Beautiful. Also, that is just Sebastian Stan. Eric just put up a picture of Sebastian Stan in the
Thunderbolts.
Mission Impossible 2 is a wonderful example. It's a wonderful timepiece of like, this is the direction they thought movies were going to go into, and then let's just take a hard steer back to normal spy action movies.
I mean, I keep pitching Nick on the idea of like a video essay on Mission Impossible, which is the autobiography of Tom Cruise. And I know that we will never do it because of lawyers and like other reasons. But like, it is so fascinating how like the Mission Impossible franchise is whatever Tom Cruise needs it to be in any given moment. Where like, if you look at the movies, they always reflect what Tom Cruise wants you to think of Tom Cruise. So like, one is like, okay, it's the 90s. I'm in a suit and tie. I'm a businessman. I'm working with new Hollywood directors. I'm a serious talent. I need to be taken seriously. I'm seducing French movie stars. I'm defeating John Voight. What more could you want? I'm respectable. I'm espionage-esque. Two is like, okay, I know some people have been talking about the state of my marriage to Nicole Kidman, and I just want you to know I am a straight man who enjoys lots of sex and motorbike rides, and I'm not having any sort of crisis of my midlife or anything like that whatsoever. My hair just naturally looks like this. So I don't know why you guys are asking so many questions. Yeah, Thantiwa Newton. We would definitely have sexual intercourse, the two of us, possibly in a bathtub. I mean, yeah. What more have you got to ask for?
And do perfectly normal ways for human beings to act.
Yeah. And then three. And then, can we do like dueling with motorbikes? And then 3 is like, okay, I've met this girl. She's a cute brunette. She's very sweet. She's very gentle. I'm sure this one is the right one for me. And the thing you need to know about me, Tom Cruise, movie star, is that actually you may think I'm an action hero, but really I'm just a normal guy who's in love with a normal girl and just wants to live a normal life. But these things keep happening to me. It's insane how normal I am. The opening sequence of Mission Impossible 3 involves characters joking about how boring Tom Cruise is as he takes out the trash in his own house.
Right.
That obviously does not work.
This is like the time where self-aware actor. Like he's an enigma.
4, like so 3 happens. He does the jumping on the couch sequence, the I will eat the placenta. There's the Tom Cruise law, which prevents people from buying ultrasound machines. Paramount like dump him entirely. They announce they're going to let Jeremy Renner take over the Mission Impossible franchise. And then 4 begins with Tom Cruise in prison, locked away, forgotten. But he's only there because Tom Cruise wants to be there. And the thing about Mission Impossible 4 is it's now time for Tom Cruise just to walk out of movie jail because he's decided he doesn't want to be there anymore. And so much of like Mission Impossible 4 is like Tom Cruise explaining in excruciating detail to Jeremy Renner why Jeremy Renner will never be a movie star. It is an incredible movie to watch. The story is that like Paramount wanted to replace him in Mission Impossible 4. They're going to get Renner to take over the franchise. But it's he brings in Macquarie as his writer, and Macquarie just like basically cooks Renner. It's an incredible thing where like Renner's supposed to be like, okay, so I've got a tragic backstory. And Macquarie's like, yeah, you do. But I feel like your backstory needs to be related to Tom. I feel like your tragic backstory needs to be that you failed Tom. Okay, Renner's like, okay, fine. But I still get to kill a bad guy. And like Macquarie's like, see, I've been thinking about that. And people expect you to kill the bad guy because you're Jeremy Renner. You're so cool, right? People aren't going to be surprised when you kill a bad guy. So instead of you killing the bad guy, I'm going to have Simon Pegg do it. That okay with you? And Renner's like, wait, what's happening? And then at the end of the movie, there's a moment where like Cruise is supposed to have his leg broken so that he'll get a desk job and he'll be like the kind of the M of the franchise going forward. And apparently the story that's told by the stunt coordinator is Cruise shows up on set, lets them set up the stunt, put him in the harness, waits until everybody's assembled, then like dramatically rips the harness off, says, I ain't going anywhere, and just walks off set back to his trailer without anybody stopping him. It's incredible stuff.
He's the last living movie star. He's absolutely the last living movie star.
Here's 3 sharp noises for Eric, so you know when we start talking again.
I think
your mic muffled all of them.
Yeah, your mic very smartly decided that was not a noise that you intended to record.
But you saw my face. That noise was great.
But
Eric didn't see your face because the video's not being recorded.
We'll see. Okay, how about this? Up.
That just sounds like you were like trying to interject and we weren't letting you.
Yeah, but that's 3 sharp noises. So
the noise that Tom Cruise makes with NT. Anyway, never mind.
Okay, so where we left off was Tom Cruise uses the Mission Impossible movies as a statement for what Tom Cruise wants us to think about him at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I was on 3 there. Then you get to 6. Let's just jump. 5 is a mess. We won't talk too much about 5, but 6 is fascinating because 6 is like 6 opens with him marrying the pretty brunette. You know, the pretty brunette who he had to leave because he had to go do his work. He had to go entertain the masses. He had to keep the world safe. And it's him imagining their marriage together as the world crumbles around them. And so much of 6 is about how, like, look, I'm Tom Cruise. You guys know that maybe I haven't had the best relationships with women. Maybe my relationships with women haven't always worked out the way that you might want them to work out. But I want you to know that I still care about them deeply and I will protect them no matter what. There is like such an interesting dichotomy through the movies where there's always like the sweet mousy brunette that he has to protect, whether it's Michelle Monaghan, whether it's Rebecca Ferguson, whether it's Hayley Atwell. And then there's the ice queen blonde who he is drawn to but cannot trust, who is obviously like your Vanessa Kirby, your Pomme Clémentine. I'm not, to be clear, for legal purposes, I am not suggesting that is any way drawn from any real events involving any real person, but I just think it's an interesting thing to note in a vacuum about those movies.
It's good color theory. Brunette is good, blonde is bad. It's like it's coding. I'm saying it's coding for the movie, not coding for real life. Yeah.
Yeah, to be clear. And then like 6 is also like, by the way, I'm so sick and tired of like superhero movies where it's like, you know, The Dark Knight, where you have to make a tough choice, where you have to make a choice between the greater good and the sacrifice. I'm not doing that. That's just not my business. I'm going to fucking kill Superman, throw him off a cliff. Let's see if this man can fly is the climax of that movie, basically. And then obviously the most recent one, Dead Reckoning, is like, maybe we're soft launching the idea that Tom Cruise can fuck again. Like, it's like, we're not going to suggest it too strongly. We're not going to Mission Impossible to this thing. But just to be clear, the concept of this movie is that there is a key. The key has a mate. The key slots together in a very suggestive manner, if you will. The climax of the movie involves a train going through lots of tunnels and plunging over into a gorge. There's a bit of handcuff fun involving himself and his female companion. There's a joke about both size and premature ignition when it comes to the two of them being in a confined space together. There is like this very kind of Hitchcockian premise. There's a lot of close-up magic. The new character is a pickpocket whose ability to involve both sliding something in and taking something out through quick physical contact. But there is something interesting where it's kind of this really sublimated kind of like 1950s Hitchcock-esque kind of approach to sex, where it is, instead of like actually kissing or holding or touching, you have all this imagery that is like suggestive of it without actually being it. This is a Mission Impossible movie that begins on a submarine, which is full of semen. It is I'm so glad that this is just an audio only podcast. I don't know that you guys should have let me reach the end of this argument, but here we are.
We want you to come to completion, Darren, when you talk about this. Absolutely.
Just saying, like, there is, I think if you look at the Mission Impossible franchise, that is all about like what Tom Cruise wants you to think. Because and again, want to be clear, I'm not basing this on any real life group of people or church or organization or religious body or anything like that. But in Dead Reckoning, there is a moment where the new brunette character who wants to be a part of Tom Cruise's life in some way, shape, or form is taken into a room surrounded by Tom Cruise's friends, and they explain to her that she needs to make the choice and she needs to take the oath. And she needs to accept that she will have to sacrifice for the greater good, that she will have to do the right thing that even the rest of the world will not necessarily know to be right. And in return, Ethan Hunt can't promise to protect her, but he can promise that he will do whatever it takes to put his life before hers. There is, I think, a subtext to that, like, framing of the movie and the relationship between the two. By the way, if Second Wind does not exist next week, it's because we have been sued out of existence.
Fine, this was offline. It doesn't count. If it's audio only, you can't get in trouble for audio only.
I had my fingers crossed the whole time. I was.
Yeah. I'm now incredibly curious to see what Final Reckoning could do to really put a pin on this whole thing, to tie a bow on it at the end.
Tom Cruise kills God. Like that's
the only thing. That's the only thing left.
Yeah, that's really the only thing left.
He'll kill the false god.
Yeah.
No, and I do wonder. Obviously, you know, the last Mission Impossible movie came out in a little bit of an aftershocks as far as kind of like COVID movies were concerned, and so like didn't do great numbers box office wise, but was still a well-known movie. It's still like a well-known franchise. I say, hoping that someone affirms that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, I think it's. I think it's beloved by the people who love it.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know. It doesn't. It maybe it has the baggage of being what this is the 8th movie. It might have like normie baggage to it that something like a Top Gun Maverick didn't, because all it was just watch that one movie from the 80s that you've already probably seen and you'll be up to date. Whereas this one is really leaning hard on the every character from every movie is here. Like. It does feel like a you need to do your homework movie of this franchise over the past 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the last movie was called like Dead Reckoning Part 1, which has been stricken from the record. Although I love that it still ends on a to be continued or end of Part 1. When I watched it, it's still like it doesn't say Dead Reckoning Part 1 at the start, but when you get to the end, it gets a to be continued. So like it is fascinating that like this is a 2-part movie and the first part underperformed. And I think like to Jack's point, I think a part of it is obviously it is the Barbenheimer thing. It released a week before Barbenheimer and just got crushed underhand. It is like such a miscalculation on the part of Cruise, who is normally like attuned to this stuff, that he did not see that runaway train heading towards that gorge. Not to suggest any imagery or of any kind there.
Well, this one is a little luckier because if we keep pressing on, it doesn't have a lot of movies, not a lot of big.
Sorry,
movies.
We are 2 weeks into summer. I like.
No, that's fine. I feel like we're gonna have less to say for a lot of these, so I have faith in that. May 30th, a handful of smaller movies that I'm looking forward to. Bring Her Back, which is the follow up to Talk to Me, the horror movie from a couple of years ago about the you touch the creepy hand and all of a sudden you enter the world of the dead for a little bit. Life of Chuck, which is the Stephen King adaptation that won, I think, the grand prize at the Toronto Film Festival,
the Audience Award, like the Best Picture predictor. The movie that it predicted, I think Coda predicted a Green Book winning Best Picture.
Yeah, and this is done by Mike Flanagan, who did the Netflix series Midnight Mass and the Haunting of Hill House and all of those. So a lot of goodwill behind it. The Phoenician Scheme, which is the new Wes Anderson movie, starring Michael Cera plus everyone who's ever been in a Wes Anderson movie ever, per usual.
Plus everyone who's ever been in a movie ever.
It is overwhelming to see the cast in his movie. Like genuinely overwhelming.
There is no the title card in the trailer is like 4 names apiece. It's just like we need to get these covered as quickly as possible. I mean, that is an insane week at the movies where it's like those are 4 movies that should be spread over at least 2, if not 3 weeks, where you have like a potential Best Picture nominee, a Karate Kid prequel, a horror movie that's going to do well, and a Wes Anderson movie that will presumably play well with cinephiles for the next 2 months, even though nobody talks about it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot coming out for the anime. But again, none of those I feel like are going to
disrupt or derail.
Yeah. No, nothing stealing IMAX screens from Mission Impossible. June 6th, we have Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff. The John Wick spinoff. Plus, there's a Dan movie, which I believe is going to do kind of the Demon Slayer thing, where it's going to be like a canonical, like here's the next couple chapters of the story, but then the series is going to come back in July and just pick up there.
Like Mugen Train.
The Mugen Train, exactly. Yeah, that's a big thing. Anime. Look at that. We got our resident weeb, Darren, is here for.
I've heard of anime. It's
then
short
June 13th,
for animation.
Japanimation? Oh my god, the kids love it. June 13th, Big for the Kids, Elio. That's the new Pixar movie, correct?
Yeah.
I don't know
the alien abduction movie starring Zoe Saldana. Like this is the one that feels like it's being sent out to die. Like it's being sent out to die. It's coming out immediately after Lilo and Stitch, which is the big Disney movie. It's coming out the same weekend as you're about to name it, the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie, which is just going to own families that weekend. Yeah. And like it feels like Pixar are just being like, okay, well, this is our original diverse film and we're going to send it out. Don't worry, we're making Toy Story 5 next year.
Yeah.
It's vaguely depressing.
Yeah.
So I'm not even joking. They are making Toy Story 5 next year.
Why? Why are we doing this? We don't have to do this.
I mean, money.
Society don't have to make these. Oh, money. I forgot it was money.
No, that's the upsetting part about all of this is we as a society have said we want this. The 3 of us do not want this. Everyone else on the planet wants this.
Yeah.
It's okay because How to Train Your Dragon is out that same weekend. Where like the design of Toothless in the live action How to Train Your Dragon is so transparently we're doing a dragon theme park and the design needs to match for the older people who have seen the animated movie and the kids who are going to see the quote unquote live action one. It is so cynical and depressing.
And it just looks ugly compared to the animated movie. Like the animated movie looks good and this just looks like a gray drag.
And they're good movies. Those were some of the movies that when I was watching movies with my very young children, I didn't mind watching. And that is such a hard thing to come across when you are a parent. Just much like the Lilo and Stitch movie, much like the Lion King remake, much like any of these live action remakes, it's like you are about to lose so much personality when you strip the animation out of your characters. Ugh.
But remember when?
No, I'm done. I'm done remembering.
I'm done remembering. That same day, The Materialists come out, the new A24 movie from Celine Song, her follow-up to first movie since Past Lives, starring Dakota Johnson, a.k.a. Madam Web, Chris Evans, a.k.a. Captain America, Pedro Pascal, a.k.a. Joel Miller, R.I.P.
I guess also Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. I probably should have continued along the Marvel thing instead of going to The Last of Us.
I do just like the idea of the three of them hanging out in a bar. I feel like Joel would have a lot to add to that conversation.
I did what I had to.
You guys know about electronics.
You ever hear Pearl Jam? June 20th, 8 years later, which I'm very excited for. These trailers have been
being
great.
given space.
And being given space. I think it's very nice. I'm very excited for this movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of the 28 movies.
You haven't seen 28 Days Later?
Ooh,
like the original one? That's surprising. That was a
first one's phenomenal. And the second one's actually quite good. It just suffers from not being the first one is the biggest problem with the second one. I mean, the first one, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, how brutal are they? Can I get a marathon of both of them before the third? Like, if I watch them both in the same day, if I watch all three in the same day, will it rot my brain?
The end of the first one is really bleak and depressing,
and the beginning of the second one is,
and I think the beginning, the way that it works is kind of like a sandwich of depression if you watch them back to back, where like the last half hour of the first half hour of the second are like really bleak. People are awful. Robert Carlyle really well used in the second one, I will say. But like, and then I love that like that feels like an insult to Robert Carlyle. It's like the most depressing movie ever made. By the way, Robert Carlyle is great in it. But like I think that like the second one becomes a more conventional like run and chase movie as it goes on. So I think that if you arguably watching them back to back, probably better than watching them like separately.
You might like
for your movie.
Motion from the first one into the second one.
Little valley of like depression in the middle.
Obviously we can't tell you what the third one's going to be like because we don't know. Really looks cool though. So there you go.
By the way, like we're chatting out that it's got the Sinners deal where like it is owned by Andrew McDonald who's the producer, Danny Boyle who's the director, and Alec Garland who's the writer. So it is like Sony are just distributing it. Yeah, that's cool. That's why the first two aren't available on streaming at the moment. They were distributed by Fox, which is now owned by Disney, but they're actually owned by Boyle and by Garland and by McDonald, which is why they're not readily available for streaming. So they have the Sinners deal.
Put them on streaming. What have they thought about that?
Yeah.
What if you what if you put the movies out before the other movies come out?
Yeah, where you can watch them. Where people go. I mean, the thing about I'm actually very curious to hear Jack talk about like the first one as like a guy who works in like professional filmmaking, because that movie is like in high definition, looks like it was recorded by a camcorder off a VHS copy of itself.
I've heard that. I know many people love it, and like I think for me at the time I was zombied out, and so that was just another zombie movie, and I didn't have the time for it. It's on my list of stuff to get around to, and now I have a lovely excuse, assuming I can find a copy somewhere.
You could get one on original DVD.
No, that won't. Okay.
Yeah. But these are zombies, but fast. Think about that. That's different.
Whoa.
No one's ever done zombies, but fast.
Simon Pegg did not like that.
No, did not. June 27th, we got F1 and Mathregan 2.0. Let me tell you, I saw the trailer finally for Megan 2.0. It looks fucking awful. Like, looks dreadful. I hope this movie bombs so hard because of this like dumb, cheeky, like, oh, it's irony. Megan's back. I'm like, no. This is bad. We shouldn't make things like this.
like Megan was a surprise hit, right? Of like the killer doll. I've heard very good things about it. Never got around to seeing Megan, but like a surprise hit, beloved. It looks fun and creepy and like weird enough. You know, Megan doing the dance and killing people. Like, oh, I'm down with that. The trailer for the new one looks like a Saturday Night Live digital original making fun of Megan. 100%.
Yeah.
Can I just say I do like that this year Terminator 2 is back between Bucky on the motorbike and Mithrigan 2.0. Like, I like that our filmmakers are like, we're coming for Cameron, but like at a distance of 30 years, so Big Jim can't like lay us low. I like it. I'm kind of into Mithrigan 2.0. I'm going to be honest.
Listen, even the same day we got F1, and what is F1 if not a T2?
It's what you hit when you need help. It's like Tom Cruise needs to be in this movie. I'm hitting F1 and it's just not happening. Like,
I guess we got Brad Pitt. He's kind of like Tom Cruise.
F1 is so fascinating because it's so transparently like, well, Top Gun Maverick went well, right? So what if, and hear us out here, instead of doing a sequel to Top Gun starring Tom Cruise, we did a sequel to what's it called?
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder, not starring Tom Cruise.
Yes, I saw the trailer for that before Thunderbolts, and it's hard for me not to care about a movie that's not a Star Wars, but that they did it. Man, when he said like, if you can make it as an F1 racer, oh, that's the greatest victory of all. And it's like, who the fuck? You are driving a car fast, sir.
Also, you are Americans. Like, as a European, I kind of respect that, but it's a weird way to sell your movie to Americans to have Javier Bardem go. And just so we're clear, this is not like your stupid American sports. This is serious.
And I'm sure they will do a good job of conveying why it's so difficult to drive an F1 car. I can't well up even a joking amount of caring about that movie.
Also, the Wachowskis already made Speed Racer. You don't got to make car movies anymore.
And you know
they
what?
Already made the best car movie.
Those cars Kung Fu fought, and it's the best.
Yeah, if your cars aren't going to do that, just don't make a car movie. Make a car movie. Yeah, simple as that. July 2nd, we got new Jurassic World. I'm having a hard time caring about Jurassic World. I want to care. I like the cast.
Why do you want to care?
I was about to say, like, you say you're having a hard time as if you're surprised after the combination of Jurassic World, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World Dominion. Like, it sounds like you're like, but they were on such a hot streak, and now what's happened to my beloved franchise?
I think the insane thing about Jurassic Park is I think it starts with a masterpiece, and I think every movie afterwards is bad. Including Jurassic Park 2. And I don't know, in my mind, they make a lot of money, I guess, or at least some of them make a lot of money.
Yeah, my sneaking suspicion is that this may be one of the biggest movies. Like, this is the threat to Superman and Fantastic Four aren't competing against each other. They're competing against Jurassic World. That is my gut feeling here. Is that, like, because to be clear, I think Jurassic World Rebirth is going to be bad because, as you said, most Jurassic Park movies are bad. But I do think that also it's that Transformers thing where audiences like when big things run into each other. Like there is an innate appeal to that, and audiences will go and see because
I want to see the dinosaur eat a dude. I like it when the dinosaur ate that dude.
I mean, like, that's what was it? A Transformers 4 was like, what if the robots were also dinosaurs? And it was like, yeah, $1.1 billion for one of the worst movies ever made. I do suspect that, and part of me also wonders if it's the simplicity of the premise, where it's like, I tell you what Jurassic World Rebirth is, and you know immediately everything that movie is going to offer you. So there's no surprise, there's no expectation, there's no disappointment. Whereas, again, you look at something like Superman or Fantastic Four, and you're like, yeah, but the last time I went to see the last 4 of those movies, last 3 of those movies, they gave me nothing.
Tickets are expensive. It's like $20 a ticket now to go see a movie, and if you are going, like if it's not the dinosaurs eating dudes and big loud sounds and beautiful vistas, I just wasted my $20.
This is the one that famously came together in like 3 months, where they're like, the advertisement went out across Hollywood. We don't want a director, we want a shooter. And they got, was it Gareth Edwards, the guy who did like Rogue One, who did like not the maker, not the founder, the creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how the premise is we're going to a dinosaur penal colony. These were the dinosaurs that were too rude to join Jurassic Park, so we're gonna go to their home, which I think is very funny.
What about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, but all Raphael? Oh, he's really cool.
All Raph all the time.
What if they were out of the past?
Oh my God.
I do love the idea that the way you're setting this up is the movie's surprise twist is that it's like Shawshank Redemption. Where it's like one of the dinosaurs is like not meant to be there and it's just like slowly finding its way off the island as a Morgan Freeman dinosaur narrates its plight.
Okay, I would kind of love that.
Wasn't one of the dinosaurs in the Chris Pratt movie named Blue? One of the characters in Shawshank is named Red. I'm not saying they're in the same cinematic universe, but
is the little girl dinosaur from the last one that's ended up in the prison, right? Is that what happened?
No, it's a completely new movie. It's a complete.
Oh, I don't think this has anything to do with actual Jurassic.
This is a complete, they've scrapped the continuity again. Yeah,
I'm thinking of Mithrigan 4. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. What if they send Mithrigan to the dinosaur prison?
By the way, I would
actually watch that. Like a small robot child just beating up a lot of dinosaurs. That actually sounds pretty cool.
They're both Universal properties, right? So like it can happen. Like the thing about like Jurassic World, which it's going to be a terrible movie. I want to be clear, like all that I'm defending Jurassic World Rebirth is going to be terrible. I love that this is setting up the punchline where like 2 months down the line going, guys, quietly good.
Really good.
But like
it's about trauma.
Think it's about like maternal trauma passed down from generation to generation.
No.
The thing about this movie and why I do not hate this movie is that this is Universal, and this is Universal transparently. Like famously what happened is they looked at their slate of blockbusters and they had obviously, what they had Oppenheimer in 2023. They had a couple of big ones last year. Next year, they've got like the Jordan Peele, they've got a Spielberg coming and stuff like that. They looked at their schedule for 2025 and said, we've got nothing here. So literally dug in the back of the closet to find whatever they could to give them a big summer hit. And they got like Jurassic Park and they're like, fine, find us a director who can make this movie in like 3 months with 2 movie stars and get it in on time and on budget. And we will put it in cinemas. And it's like, I can't hate that because that is what allows them to be like, we're releasing Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey next year. Like, I'm like, I will accept this as penance for The Odyssey. It's like, you get a freebie, you get a pass. I'm like, I'm Michael Fassbender and Steve Jobs.
There is a world in which this could turn. I'm not saying it's going to be as good as Twisters, but this could be a Twisters situation. And of course, because they are making it fast and dirty, that means the studio can't be as hands-on, and maybe the filmmakers actually get to say something, and we get some fun things. This is me riding the very mild high that I have from seeing the Thunderbolts of being like, wait, blockbusters can say something, right?
But I mean, like what Edward's movies always say is, what if there was a big thing? And I don't get me wrong, I like his version of Rogue One. His version of Godzilla has its very serious problems, but the fact that Godzilla's big is not one of them. Like the creators, like, what if there were big things? I'm like, I feel like he doesn't have a lot of depth. God bless Edwards. Like, I feel like what if the dinosaurs were big is probably going to be the takeaway from this movie. I'm just laying that down.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes in life, I feel like a small little guy in a big little world. And what if we see what that's like?
That's actually been the teaser. Like, what if? And then you hear like the dinosaurs, and then it's a crack out. It's we're big, and then you see the whatever-osaurus they find on the island. Okay, I've turned around. I'm excited for the movie now. It was that easy.
And the next one is Jack Reacher going to the island because you need 2 things that are big.
Big Jack Reacher and Lil Megan fighting dinos.
I would day one, I'm camping out for tickets. Jack Reacher versus dinosaurs. I am so there for that.
I feel like it's just easy wins. I don't know why they're not doing this. July 11th, following week, Superman. We're getting a new trailer tomorrow. I feel like we've talked about Superman a lot. It's make us care about this movie. That's the kind of state they're in right now. I don't feel like the trailers have done a great job. They're trying. Yeah, they're trying. And we should have faith in James Gunn, right?
I do. I have a lot of faith in James Gunn. I don't have faith that this movie is going to do well. I think I think too many bridges have been burnt. I will very happily be pleasantly surprised. I believe it's going to be good. I have not seen any of the trailers because I know I'm going to watch this movie, so I want to go in as blind as possible. That's how I like watching movies. I've already decided I'm going to see it. I don't need to see a trailer. And it didn't play before Thunderbolts, so what are you going to do? That being said, it feels a little bit like James Gunn is being set up to be a bit of a martyr here, is to be a little bit of a scapegoat of like, we gave it to the guy you guys all said, and you didn't watch the movie. So guess who's getting the franchise back? Gareth Edwards, some dickhead. I'm not saying
Gareth Edwards. I love the idea of him just bouncing. What if Superman was big?
Like big, right?
Paul Bunyan Superman.
Yeah. With Crypto, the big blue ox. I could mess with that. Just speaking about what's old is new. Once again, July 18th. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like a sequel. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt returning. In
a summer slot, which is strange. It is like, put this out in October, even September, maybe November. Like that's where this movie belongs. Like this is the thing that I was talking about with Final Destination Bloodlines, where you expect these movies to play like blockbusters. You're putting them in blockbuster slots. And to be fair, Scream did and Halloween 2018 did, but like, do people care about I Know What You Did? I watched all 4 of them recently.
There were 4 of them?
I think there was only 2 real ones.
There were 2 real ones, yes, and then there
might have been 2 more like straight to DVD or
shot
something.
in Vancouver or something. I can't even remember what the connection to The Fisherman was there, because I think that the 3rd and 4th one weren't even near the sea. I was like, why is The Fisherman involved?
It was a completely different movie that they were like, well, we put the name on it, that'll work.
Yeah.
It's the Die Hard of our generation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because like again, it's such a lazy premise where it's like, what if, and Heroes Out Here, he had a hook. And it's like, that's it. It's like, yeah, that's the pitch. It's like, okay, that can work.
Get Gareth Edwards in there. What if he had a hook that was also extremely big?
A big hook, though.
What if he had to scrape it along the ground? That's actually a pretty good pitch. If he had to if his hook was so big that it made a scraping noise, like he was dragging along the ground, there's a pitch.
I'm back on Team Edward. By the way, like, I have no strong feelings about Gareth Edwards. This is just for the bit. He's probably a very nice person. I do not know anything about him.
He seems like a guy who does what he's told to do, and like, good for him.
And you know what? It's really hard to work in this industry, and he's doing it. I just want to make sure people listening know I have nothing against this man. I don't care for Rogue One, but I'm sure he's very nice.
But Rogue One got us Andor, so fuck it. He can kill someone for all I care about. I'll still be like, you did good. You did good. You got us Andor.
I love that Jack's like, just to be clear, I have no hard feelings towards Edwards, and Marty's like, just to be clear, I am all in on Edwards. Like, he hasn't murdered somebody, but if he did, he's innocent.
He's innocent.
The counterpoint, Andor really good.
To be clear, Edwards had Rogue One taken away from him, which again speaks to Jack's point about like how hard it is to work in this industry. How easy to work with must you be? How pleasant must you be that the studio took away your blockbuster Star Wars movie, and you are still the guy that studios go to go, hey, can you do us a dinosaur movie in a pinch? Like he must be must be so wonderful to work. He must be a really pleasant guy who's like really reliable and knows what he's doing. Again, we talk about like the creator, whatever issues you have with the creator, done on budget, on time, on a remarkably low budget for what was on screen there, you know?
It's a great looking movie. If that movie was playing silently at a bar, great looking. You're like, oh damn, look at these robots. They look awesome.
I just want robots to be free, Marty.
I just want them to be a little bit bigger. That's the thing with the creator. The robots weren't quite as big as they should have been.
Okay, so the issue is the kid should have looked at like John David Washington and been like, I just want robots to be big.
That's what it should have been. I think it's a beautiful movie. I got a tear welling up right now. I'm going to have 2 tears saved for July 25th because we got a humdinger. You go to the theater, you see Fantastic Four First Steps, you come home on Netflix, Happy Gilmore 2 is waiting for you. This is the greatest day. This is the greatest day in human history.
How is our temperature on Happy Gilmore 2?
Off the fucking charts. It is burning up. It is the surface of the sun. I have full faith in this movie. No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing this. Happy Gilmore 1 holds a very special place in my heart. Yeah. I think all 3 of us are the right age to, I think, really tapped into those early.
Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore double feature. Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Tommy Boy triple feature. I'm there all day for it. Obviously, one of these things is not like the other, and. I sometimes feel like I am fighting against the world when I say that Adam Sandler is genuinely funny and has done funny things recently. His most recent kind of stand-up special on Netflix, I think, is brilliant. That's where we get the wonderful and heartwarming Chris Farley tribute song. But like the jokes in there are also top notch. It's really, really funny. I stand for Hubie Halloween. I think Hubie Halloween is a great addition to the Adam Sandler makes funny noises and hangs out with celebrities for a little bit. I love it.
It's in the little Nicky zone, I think, in terms of like Sandler characters. Like once every 10 years, it's like, I want to see if I can make this work.
And I'm very okay with it. I would have much preferred a new character, make a different spin on Hubie, a different spin on Little Nicky. I don't think is going to be. I think they're going to get bogged down in the lore.
So 1968, there was this lady who's
There's the we're going to find the crocodile's backstory. That's going to be the opening sequence. That. Yeah.
No matter the quality of this movie, it will. This will be probably one of the top 5 most watched movies in Netflix history, I think.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think it'll like enter that rarefied atmosphere.
Oh yeah, it'll be one of the most watched movies of the year. Like again, this is the thing about Netflix is that like for all, and it's never like The Irishman or The Power of the Dog. It's always like Hubie Halloween or Happy Gilmore.
More people will watch this than Fantastic Four. Like quite easily. I mean,
possible.
Partly because you have it at home and you can just click a button. Like you don't have to go somewhere. But at Fantastic Four, we've talked about quite a bit of our kind of. We'll see. Like
I saw him use the stretchy powers in the trailer.
Because this trailer came out like a couple of weeks after the last one. We had enough time to like beat the VFX artist with whips.
And you know what? It still looks kind of stupid. Stretchy powers in live action movies look stupid.
That's good.
I mean, like the thing about the Fantastic Four is like they are characters who are designed to work in comics. Where like I think like is it Mark Waid when he does the Fantastic Four run? His opening issue is, to be clear, these are all horrific, disgusting powers. If you stop to think about them, imagine what it's like standing next to the guy whose like bones and skins are stretching like rubber. What do you think that sounds like? What do you think it's like being in a room with the Thing? Like when he's just like scratching his ass. What do you think that sounds like? What do you think Johnny Storm smells like on a given day? These are characters who work in comics, and I love them to death. The Hickman run is fantastic. The Waid run is fantastic. I really like the Simonson run over the Byrne run, which is my hot Fantastic Four take. But like, I think the thing that gets me about this movie is that it weirdly reminds me of Dark Phoenix, right? I want to be careful how I frame this, where
all right.
In the early 2000s, you had a Fox superhero franchise. And as part of that franchise, you had a sequel that adapted a beloved, iconic, perhaps the most famous story featuring those characters, beloved by internet and fans and everybody. And you botched it. You got it wrong. Happens. Nothing, it's okay. You call him Mulligan. You messed up the most important story featuring these characters that is the most famous thing that everybody loves. So you know what? You're going to come back and you're going to do it again. And it's like, my point of comparison for this is like Dark Phoenix, where Dark Phoenix is like, we're doing it again. We're going to try and nail the Dark Phoenix saga again on film before Disney buy us and swallow us. And this whole thing gets wrapped up and thrown over the hedge and everybody forgets about it. And it is so weird to me that like this movie is so transparently, okay, we're going to do Galactus again. This time it's going to be good. Right before, as Marty pointed out, we're doing the big crossover that's undoubtedly going to be the soft reboot that's going to get us what we really want, which is the X-Men in the shared universe. But also, all of the chips are on this, baby. Like, it is so surreal to me. But what do I know? This is probably going to be a huge hit.
Galactus. Hey, Gareth Edwards had some say in Galactus, though.
Big.
Because in the last movie, he was just like a bunch of space dust. And this one, just big dude.
He's a big dude.
Large dude.
Yeah. Like, for all of its faults, for if anyone has yet to see the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie, delightful little piece of schlock.
Is it available? I didn't know it was available.
Oh, you cannot see it legally, but you can watch it 100%. It is out there. Also, Doomed, the documentary about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie, which is the actual making of this movie is so heartbreaking because real quick for anyone who doesn't know the backstory of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie, it was someone holding on to the rights of the movie, so they needed to start producing a movie with no intention to actually release it. They hired Roger Corman, who could make it for under $1 million. Hired some no-name actors, including Bug from Uncle Buck. If anyone remembers the slightly rapey boyfriend from Uncle Buck, he's your Johnny Storm.
Hard to pick him out of an 80s movie lineup, to be clear. That description doesn't really narrow it down.
So they made this movie. All the actors were really excited. This was going to be their big break because no one told the actors that it was never going to get released. The actors literally had to smuggle out prints of the movie and paid themselves to get into Comic-Cons to promote the movie because they thought it was really weird that the studio was doing no promotion, which is the only reason that we know this movie actually exists. And that's why we have like the work prints that we have of the movie. Doomed is the documentary cataloging all this. Fantastic watch if you can, and you can find that on just about any streaming service. I think Doomed is everywhere.
I didn't know the story of that actually.
Oh, it's really fun. It's really phenomenal, really interesting peek into Hollywood. Then, of course, we get the Jessica Alba version of the Fantastic Four movies, which are what they are. And
Tim Story, American auteur, the man responsible for the Shaft sequel, the Shaft Lega sequel.
You know what? At least it wasn't Michael Trank renting a compound in Louisiana.
Josh Trank,
Josh Trank. Yeah, I don't know who I made up Michael Trank. He's a fake
Josh
man.
Trank then tried to
his
do
house
it.
full of dogs.
Yeah, his house full of dogs. Yeah.
I kind of have a certain amount of sympathy for Trank because he's like this young guy who was picked off the back of making an indie film who was so far out of his depth and was like, obviously, maybe not qualified to do it, maybe didn't have the experience to do it, maybe not the person they should have picked to do it, maybe not the person they should have tapped on the shoulder to do it, but like was fed through the meat grinder like in a way that felt really, really, really tasteless. Where like if all that stuff happened, you don't report about it in the press, you just don't hire that guy again. You just like quietly fade him out of the industry. The fact that like that stuff happened and it was the news story going into the opening weekend of Fantastic Four or Fan4stick really felt to me like Fox were like, just to be clear, the suits didn't mess this one up, baby. These executives, they had all the right ideas. It was that stupid director, that stupid kid. Where's that bus? Is it come? We got him. Come on, get him in there. And boom. And hey, the bus stopped here. It's great.
But like on your Dark Phoenix take, this is a movie this is a franchise that has hugely failed 3 times.
We're hoping it's going to be a fantastic fourth. Yeah.
Could be. It's also funny because this is the movie that's kind of closing out this is like the last blockbuster of the summer. This is like, so I feel like it's either going to end the summer on like we did it, guys, we saved the movies, or it's going to be like, oh shit, I can't believe they fucked up a 4th time. I can't believe it.
but like also like if it fails, like this is the thing. I why are you selling this as like the trailers are so weird because it's like Mark Gatiss shows up and he's like, everybody knows and loves the Fantastic Four, right? You guys love the Fantastic Four. They don't need any introduction, these people who I'm introducing behind me. The movies, the trailers are so much like, you guys love the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, that is a very risky tone to take in your advertising marketing for anybody who actually remembers a Fantastic Four movie. Yep. Like it, for me, the thing to do would be to market it like you did Thunderbolts and be like, hey, it's this new cool thing. We're going to try and make it work this time. If it doesn't, no biggie. We got like Robert Downey Jr. coming down the pipe. If it fails, not a big deal. Nobody needs to worry about the share price of the Walt Disney Corporation. Instead of, as we said repeatedly, all on blue. Put it all on blue.
I hope it's good. I want all these movies to be good.
I mean, and by the way, like that's a good sentiment to like echo of just like, I want every movie I see to be good. I hope that, because like I love movies and I love going to see movies, and I want to, like, I paid $20 to, technically I paid $35 because I also got Bunch of Crunch and popcorn. And like I
got a whole bunch of crunch.
I spend my own money to see movies, and I want it to be worth my money and time.
Yeah. But that's it. Who wants to be 2 hours close to death and have nothing to show for it? Like, that is the thing. Like, what do you think I go in folding my arms going, well, 2 hours of my life just gone. At least that's no longer with me. Like, yeah, you want these movies to succeed. You want them to be interesting. You want them to engage. And like, again, like I don't think I'm a tough critic. Mm-hmm. Show me something that is interesting. Show me something that is trying. Show me something that like has passion and verve behind it. That's all I want. Just give me something. Give me something.
Or, I feel like August is going to be the passion month. I feel like there's a handful of like sleeper hits in August that I'm excited for. August 1st, we got The Naked Gun reboot and Together, the horror movie starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie, which his trailer looks fucking insane. Like I have a feeling this will be a big hit. August 8th, we got Freakier Friday and Weapons, which Weapons I'm putting my chips in. This is gonna be the best movie of the summer.
Magnolia. It's Magnolia from the guy who did Barbarian, which is just an incredible sentence.
All right, I'm in.
With probably my favorite trailer of the year, right up there with the original 28 Years Later trailer.
Boots trailers at the
Nobody 2 comes out August 15th, which I just saw the trailer for. Which you know what? I love Bob Odenkirk. If he wants to get a couple $1 million to beat the shit out of people on summer vacation, good for him.
Don't kill him this time, right? You know that story about the you know that story about the. Yeah, the first though they didn't. The problem is that they didn't literally kill him on set. They jacked him up and then sent him off to, is it like Arizona or New Mexico, where they film like Better Call Saul, where it's just hot and dehydrated all the time, and then he almost died on that set.
Oh my god,
because he was so dehydrated from filming.
Better Call Saul's not here anymore, so he's not going to be in Kirky.
There are no stakes. Yeah,
it's fine. August 22nd, Honey Don't, which is another Coen singular movie.
Joe, isn't it? Or is it Ethan? It's the one who didn't do Macbeth. I like that there's a serious one.
And Don't Worry, Darling, I think, right? Like last year.
Drive Away Dolls.
Drive Away Dolls. What is Don't Worry,
Don't
Darling?
Don't Worry, Darling is the Olivia Wilde movie with
Florence Pugh.
Yeah, Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh spoke less enthusiastically in the press about Don't Worry, Darling than she did about Thunderbolts.
This is true. And then August wraps up with Caught Stealing, the new Darren Aronofsky movie, which I'm very much looking forward to. And
Matt Smith in a mohawk.
Matt Smith with a mohawk. Didn't think that
Who's
man
the other
could pull
guy
that
in
up.
it? You obviously haven't seen Lost River, the Ryan Gosling directorial vehicle.
I did not. Does he have a mohawk in that?
He has a mohawk.
Oh. The other guy in it's, what's his name? Elvis, right?
Oh, Austin Butler. Fantastic.
Austin Butler. Yeah. Oh, my weird little bald boy from Dune.
A lot of hair stuff happening in this movie.
And then Toxic Avenger. Speaking of
it's getting released.
Yeah, it's finally getting released. August 29th. Peter Dinklage as the titular Toxic Avenger.
And everybody who's seen it says it's pretty decent.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. There you go. You know what, guys?
This is not getting Batgirl. Like, that's my general attitude to this. For a movie that almost did not exist, I am like celebrating the fact that this is something people can watch.
I think it'll be a decent summer. I guess a lot of it hinges on how some of these, like, it's a little worrisome that we have no slam dunk blockbusters. That all the blockbusters were kind of entering with like Jurassic Park, Superman, F1, Fantastic Four. Like,
to be fair, I believe Superman will be a slam dunk movie. I think it will be a good movie. I don't think I'm worried that audiences won't show up and or appreciate how good of a movie it is. But I think we can trust in James Gunn. He has proven to us that he can make good, interesting thing, and he understands the source material, or the source material that he is choosing here, which is Superman, good man. Superman, good guy.
He's got dog. Look at him.
Also, like I'm really excited for Peacemaker. I actually really like the Peacemaker 2 trailer that was released.
Oh my fucking god, that's gonna be so great.
I mean, I think the problem for me is that like I was riding high coming into this week because it's like, as you mentioned, we had Sinners, which was like a movies are back moment for me.
Yeah.
And we had Thunderbolts, which is like a straight down the middle, like it's a spare, not a strike, but it's like it's a functional blockbuster. And I was so excited for Mission Impossible Final Reckoning until like the early words started breaking this morning.
Oh no.
And words at like four-letter words, like four-letter like summaries, like The Rise of Skywalker started appearing in like text describing this movie. And that I think kind of threw me a bit off balance because I feel like if Mission Impossible had landed smoothly, I think the rest of the summer would have felt like it would have kind of just glided. Because I think like it is so wild that like June is just full of all these interesting movies that are probably, you know, mostly going to die on the vine. Like 28 years later is probably the biggest one in June, given the trouble that Ballerina had and given how we're not excited for How to Train Your Dragon. I think just in terms of like critically, 28 years later feels like the June movie that has everything riding on it. And then, as you say, in July is like the our movie's dead month, where it's like, if two of those three movies underperform, if one of them underperforms, you worry. Mm-hmm. If two of them underperform, it's an existential crisis, right?
Yeah.
And you look at it, and to Marty's point, I think the surest bet is Jurassic World Rebirth, and I don't think that's a sure bet. I'm not putting Fantastic Four money on Jurassic World Rebirth. You know?
If I could have rearranged this year, I would have put Sinners in August. Like, if Sinners would have been the palate cleanser at the end of the summer, and Sinners feels like a summer movie too. It's like a hot, sweaty movie. Like it literally takes place. It was out during the summer. So, but instead of kicking off the season, it capping off the season. But
and you would have nicely coast then into like scary season as well. You would have had the nice overlap. Like I think it is very telling that the premium screen providers like IMAX and iSense and all those other owners have made it like very clear that obviously they had to make room for Thunderbolts in terms of like their commitments to Disney, because obviously they commit to these movies long before they release and long before anybody's even seen them. But they've committed to, as soon as they got rid of Sinners, they're like, yeah, we're bringing it back in October. Yeah. Literally the first gap week we have in the schedule, we are bringing back Sinners, which is like, that doesn't bode well for the summer. That doesn't send the message of, well, look, we want to keep that space just in case one of these other movies catches on. You
want to do some super chats?
We should actually, because people are listening.
Let's do some super chat. Actually, before we do super chats, we'll get done with my To Be Fair segment real quick.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
I don't know if I have recommended this before because I'm not sure if it was on Tubi before, but one of the few places where you can stream Josie and the Pussycats, a criminally underrated movie. But just in case I have said that before, you can watch one of my favorite movies from childhood, Drop Dead Fred.
Ooh, Rick Mail.
Who, unbeknownst to me until recently, I believe he has passed recently. Giant, phenomenal comedy star over in the UK. Here as the actually does exist imaginary friend of a little girl now all grown up, causing havoc in her everyday life. I effing loved Drop Dead Fred, and you can watch it. It's a weird little movie.
Yeah, myself and Marty are withholding our. Okay.
I've never seen Drop Dead Fred. You know what? I'm going to watch on Tubi. That's what I'm going to do.
Right. By the way, I really recommend it. Yeah.
I thought you were withholding your opinion. Your reaction to that was like, I am withholding judgment. It's like when somebody recommends Hook. It's like, I'm going to not say anything.
What kind of a crew are we around here? Can I speak honestly of Hook? No, I remember this. I remember this cover on VHS in every video store I ever went to in my childhood, and always being kind of scared by it because the man's face was a little kooky.
And to be fair, in my To Be Fair segment, it has one of the most. It is like kind of I don't want to call it a boner comedy, but it definitely has that like boner comedy vibe of like, oh, you know, my imaginary friend is actually real and is causing havoc for me in my everyday life while I'm trying to get a husband. But without spoiling too much, the ending is not a boner comedy ending. It gets weird. I really recommend it. Yeah.
it is such a great concept for a movie, is the thing about it. Like the idea of your imaginary friend is real feels like such a slam dunk premise. Like you should be making 5 of these, you know?
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's called John Krasinski's If.
I was waiting for that. Yeah.
That's what this summer's missing. A John Krasinski's If.
What if, like, the post-credits scene, obviously, unfortunately, he had passed, but if Rick Mayall hadn't passed, do we reckon the post-credits scene of If would have been just Drop Dead Fred bursting through the doors of the imaginary friend zone?
Could you imagine it? A secret prequel? They Final Destination 5 it? That would be truly exciting. Those were some great Tubi fairs. Tubi, remember, call us. Please
call us. It's a streaming service that you can watch. You don't even need to give them your email address. You can just watch stuff.
Thanks, Tubi. Couldn't do it without
television. It's almost as if it were television.
Remember television? Going over the super chats. We don't need no badges with a $5 dono. Thank you. We don't need no badges. I was going to do work before I saw this starting. Take my procrastination penalty money. Also, Thunderbolts, more like Thunderdolts. I don't know. I didn't see it. You know what? I like going for the goof and then admitting I don't know if it's good or not, but goof was there.
I kind of love that they have, like, in the immediately previous Marvel movie, set up that the President of the United States has the nickname Thunderbolt Ross. And then there is a team called the Thunderbolts, and they are in no way related to one another.
This was because of the soccer team as a kid. Nothing to do with that. That is really confusing. Yeah. Double finger with a €2 dono. Thank you so much. I missed the good old THX eardrum blowout. I missed that too.
Yeah.
That was always great right before a movie.
The audience is listening.
I did get like a one of those,
the balls,
like the surround sound, like you paid for this, kind of things, and you know what? It is nice. It is nice.
Nice to have that sometime.
I just want to go see Interstellar and have like the cinema sound system blow up. That was the thing. The opening
sounds like shit. It was too loud.
But the opening weekend of like Interstellar was a real. Well, it turns out we did need to upgrade our sound system weekend for a lot of cinemas.
Yeah, it got filtered. That's it. Your theater got filtered. That's simple. Nice. Sussy Guru, thank you so much. So, how do you think they're going to levy the 100% tariffs on movies? This is a whole other thing I don't think we have time to get into.
Is this because I put on my politics hat and offered an opinion about the Supreme Court? Yeah.
Like everything that is happening, I think it's ultimately going to be bullshit and not actually go through. But
from what we've seen of the other tariffs, they may exist, they may not exist, they may exist in extreme numbers, or they may go diminish to small numbers, or they might just say, "Oh, actually, we didn't really want to do that. Goodbye." And it changes every single minute, and it's just exhausting.
But at least John Voight and Mel Gibson are on the case. They will save Hollywood for us.
At least Megalopolis is still selling out theaters, and that's why we're not getting a Blu-ray.
I know it's Megadoc. Documentary of Megalopolis is coming out.
They're doing a documentary about the making of it. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
I do love that, by the way, that tariff idea came from the fact Voight was in Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. Like that is how policy is made.
Yes.
It's great. You guys have a really functioning democracy.
It's working out great for us right now.
Yeah.
Everything's fun. Kid Barchetta, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Define to its logical conclusion. What film doesn't do that? What film does? And which one does it too much? Pretty good film also lives rent-free in my head, by the way. I don't know who this is in reference to. Did one of us use the phrase to its logical conclusion?
That sounds like a Darren phrase, is what I'm going to say.
Okay, well, that's putting the pressure on.
Like, a story or a narrative following through where you expect it to follow through, as opposed to zigging or zagging at all.
Yeah, following its logic and kind of reaching a point that makes sense with the premise that it has set up. So I don't. Again, it's a hard thing to do in a moment, particularly when we've been talking at this stage for over 2 hours.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember back to when I used that phrase.
Probably during Thunderbolts, maybe talking about how it like is a movie about trauma and its themes all build up to that final.
Yes, and so like the way that it uses its fights, for example, would be like an example of that, where I would consider the fact that none of its fights actually matter to be taking the idea to its logical conclusion, as opposed to, say, not doing that and like having them blow like Lewis Pullman's brains out at the end of the movie and being like, problem solved, I guess.
Violence was the answer. Thunderbolt starts literally with Yelena saying that like she's finding no joy in fighting anymore. Following to the logical conclusion. Yeah.
I mean, not to put too fine a point, it starts with her walking off the edge of a building. Like it opens like again. This is a movie about depression. It opens with like what is obviously suicidal ideation. Obviously, it turns out she's using it to get into it. But the image of a woman throwing herself off the top of a building, which is also to give credit where it's due, a nice way of invoking the death of her sister in Endgame as well, without drawing too much of a point to it.
I didn't actually put those two together, but yeah, there's
a really nice moment as well when she's in Lewis Pullman's head and she looks over at the snow globe, and the snow globe has the tower, the mountain that her sister threw herself off, and it doesn't draw attention to it. It doesn't show you a flashback. It doesn't and if you haven't watched Endgame, you lose nothing. You just kind of get that this is a weird room, and a woman throwing herself off a tall building is also like not a difficult image to parse. Like it's like somebody walks off a building. You're like, gee, I wonder what to make of this image. But it is something that very cleverly uses the history of like the MCU in a way that I found really interesting, really satisfying.
So that is the film. Like, basically what we're talking about here is setup and payoff, right? Is like, we're going to put all of these pieces. And I do think, I've been trying to kind of in the back of my head think of an example of a movie that doesn't that does it too much. And I think instead of thinking of a single movie, if we think back to that glorious time when we discovered midichlorians, is a movie who started to take
logical a conclusion.
Right? A movie that started to take itself too seriously and its lore too seriously when it stopped, like it lost a bit of the magic when it tried to explain too much of itself. That is a movie that took its logical conclusion too far.
I would agree with that. Although I think The Last Jedi does have a very good taken to its logical conclusion. Everything with Luke on the planet against Kylo, I think is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also the closing image of like, because it literally rides its premise to its conclusion, which is forgetting what's retconned in Rise of Skywalker, the idea that Rey could be anybody. What's your final shot of the movie is showing somebody who could be her. It's showing you somebody that like there could be a Rey anywhere, and like to a kid watching a movie, you could be Rey, which is really cool.
I think the angriest I've been reading a tweet over the past 2 weeks is someone wanting the old lady at the end of Rise of Skywalker who asks who Rey is to be Bix. And I'm like, you're all fucking, I hate everyone. Bix is a character in Andor. And someone's like, that character should be the old lady at the end of Rise of Skywalker. And I'm like, fucking, you shouldn't be allowed to watch things.
That's going too far. That's too many things. It's too much. Yeah.
That's too many things. Somehow Palpatine returned. That's a bad one. We should do a podcast where we just dissect Rise of Skywalker minute by minute. Every episode is just a minute.
Yeah, I feel like that was very good for our mental health. Yeah.
They're just making a bunch of clones of the Emperor. That's weird.
Can I throw just very quickly before we move off this? Just the one you're talking about going minute by minute through Rise of Skywalker. Do you guys remember the minute it lost you? Like, what was the minute where you just threw your hands up in the air and said, "Fuck this"? So Jack, Marty, either or.
I think it was the first time we saw, what was it called? Exegol, that planet, which was pretty early in the movie.
Yeah.
Exegol. And honestly, it literally might have been before the movie started when they said this event in Fortnite is going to be important to the movie. And I was like, what does that mean?
The TED speak.
What do you mean?
Do I get to hear them? No.
Yeah.
But Jack.
What is run me through the beginning of the movie? Like start running me through like the broad strokes of the movie, because I'm having a hard time placing the order
the dead
of events.
Speak. You get the scroll telling you that somehow Emperor Palpatine has returned. Then you have them stealing a bit of information. They go light speed skipping. Then you have like Rey training in the desert. You have CGI young Leia training to prove that like Leia also honed her Jedi skills. Then you have Poe yelling at Rey for not coming with them because Rey was training, because angry men on the internet insisted that Rey didn't do enough training in the last movie, so it's really weird to get angry at her about that. Then you have, as you mentioned, you have like Kylo Ren, who's murdering people on, like, is it Mustafar, even though it's not named. And then, as you say, he gets the Wayfinder. He follows the Wayfinder to get to Exegol. He lands down. He's given a fleet of Star Destroyers. I don't know if we know yet that those Star Destroyers have like Death Star weapons in them. We don't know that Richard E. Grant is there. We do that. We find that out quite quickly. Okay. And by the way, Palpatine is on a puppet arm. At this point, of Palpatine is a little kind of.
We're about 12 minutes in the movie.
The movie lost me or like the first thread that was pulled was Leia was actually a warrior as well. Because to me, Leia's character has always been like, obviously if you go back to the third movie, the rise of the
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. She's a lot of third movies. My brain. If you go back to the third original movie, we have Leia doing some like covert operations, doing some boots on the ground operations. She's leading. The fact that like she also has like significant combat training and lightsaber training, it was just like, why? She already has her place in this world. We don't need to give her this as well. That's not what her character does. Like, her character is one side of this multifaceted thing, and that was the first thread where I started to be like, but wait, why? So that was it for me.
Also, when they kill Chewbacca and they bring Chewbacca back about 30 seconds later. Also, so when C-3PO gets red eyes because he turns into a Sith and he's a robot.
And
oh my god!
The moment where like C-3PO's like, I just want to remember this moment when I'm here with all my friends who I spent a grand total of 30 minutes with over these past 3 movies, and like Oscar Isaac's like, fuck you, hit the button. The moment for me, apparently, I'm told this because this is like an out of body experience. The person I was with, the moment where Domhnall Gleeson turns to the camera and camply declares, I'm the spy. Apparently, when that happened, I have no recollection of this, but I am told I uttered the words fuck off into the cinema around me.
Turns out there's a lot of bad movies, a lot of bad moments in that movie. Yeah. Turns out there's a bunch of them. That's depressing. That's depressing.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a good thing we've gotten a lot of Star Wars movies since then. Oh, what's this? We've got no Star Wars movies since then. Okay.
Don't worry about several soon. Sean Levy.
I don't want to talk about it.
Star Wars Starfighter, which is just a terrible name. It doesn't sound good.
It's a hat on a hat. It's a hat on a hat.
Yep. Too many stars.
Star Wars Star Warrior.
Starlight, Starbright.
Star Warrior in a Starfighter.
Double finger. Thank you so much for the dono. To be honest, I was glad that Taskmaster was dealt with mostly because her design was way too similar to Ghost, mainly black with a white mask. It is confusing. They are characters that visually look very similar. So
yes,
that made it.
Which is why I suspect that it was always going to be one of them that died.
Yeah. Kiraga with the dono. Thank you so much. Personally, I prefer the version of Taskmaster that's the giant Brit who likes to berate little Alex Horn. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Is that the Taskmaster?
Yeah, we were talking about all pre-show. Yeah.
There you go.
Taskmaster. Yeah,
it's like poetry. It rhymes.
That is a phenomenal show. And Taskmaster as a villain is bad. I've never much cared. No. I've never much cared. I think it's a stupid villain.
Yeah.
Are you from the comic book? Taskmaster is great because he is just so pathetic. He's one of those characters like Namor where like it feels like they misunderstand the assignment when adapting him, when it's like he's meant to be stupid and he's meant to be sad and he's meant to be pathetic and he's meant to do things like describe him losing a fight to Steve Rogers as my personal 9/11.
I would be down with that.
Personal 9/11. You don't need. You can all have a shared 9/11. It could just be 9/11. Nidoron with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. I'm completely shocked that the best depiction of people justifying contributing to fascism is in a Star Wars series. Best film / show I've seen in years. We are running late today, so we probably won't get to Andor today. However, I promise in the next
finale
episode
tonight.
we'll talk about Andor. Finale's tonight. I am so excited. 8 p.m. Central.
Next, the Rewind, I will very happily just not be here, and we'll get another Star Wars head on. You guys can just talk about it.
I think we're the only 2 people watching it.
This is depressing.
This is depressing.
It's not our fault. You've seen what they've done to Star Wars. We're done.
I know.
I'm blaming you. We're not. There's no blame. We're not assigning blame here, Jack. I didn't say it's. I didn't say I'm angry. I said I'm sad.
No, you can be here and then we will kick you out halfway through.
Okay,
like Star Wars time, baby.
I like the idea of like literally having the button that I like to press.
Listen, Eric's in charge of the internet. I'm sure something.
Yeah.
Snake in the Garden, thank you so much for the dono. Darren, please convince them to see The Surfer. It's still living rent-free in my brain, but maybe it's just the heat wave. I want to see it. It's not playing in Madison.
I really like The Surfer. The Surfer is very particularly Darren shit. Jack, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but are you familiar with it?
Nick Cage in the Australian
exploitation
horror. Yeah.
Horror comedy thriller thing. It's basically about a guy who like decides he's going to buy a home from his childhood in Australia in the hope that it will repair his relationship with his like estranged wife who is pregnant with another man's child and like his son who clearly hates him. But he aspires to like this idea of a beachfront property that will fix everything. And it follows like a period of like 48 hours in his life as he lives in the car park of a local beach where only locals can surf. He engages in this kind of like psychological turf war with the Bay Boys over whether or not he belongs on that beach spiritually, emotionally. It is. I had a really great time with it. It is not a movie that everybody's gonna like. It is heavily influenced by the swimmer of all things, but it looks gorgeous. And with all due respect to everybody here who's listening from Australia, I have family in Australia. I think I can get away with saying this. It does capture what, for me personally, was an experience that I had more than once when I was in Australia, which is like, human beings should not live here. Everything is too hot and too vivid and trying to kill you. And it is just like a sensory overload. Everything is so orange and so blue and so beautiful, but also so inhospitable and so alienating and so hostile, but also so like gorgeous and stunning and attractive that it kind of swallows you up whole. I had a really, really good time with it.
It also feels like going from Ireland to Australia might be like a real stark juxtaposition.
To be fair, this is an audio medium, but yes, I am like the whitest guy. I am like Taskmaster Mask White. Yes.
I'm excited to see this one when it comes to VOD because I don't think it's playing anywhere.
Get in the cage.
Saucy Guru, thank you so much for the dono. Death was bored at his job, so we intentionally let some people survive so we can have some fun. I get it. You don't want to finish all your work because then your boss is just going to give you more work. So just take a little while to do your work. I don't know who Death's boss in this scenario is, but
God, maybe the person Tom Cruise is killing in like Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
I like that though. I think that's a nice kind of self-insert meta text where it's like death. Sure, I could give people heart attacks. Sure, a brain aneurysm. That's boring. You know what I really like? Dominoes. I'm gonna set up these dominoes.
If you've been
the
doing
opening
this
scene of Back to the Future, that's a big touchstone for me.
If you've been doing this for the entire breadth of human existence, you wouldn't be tired of those like banal. You're like, I want to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah,
I love the idea of like the other anthropomorphic personifications being like, that's been a bit weird lately, hasn't it? Like it's like, I don't know if we should be concerned, but like it's sending out vibes.
I need the Final Destination movie that's about death being depressed and like going through like a midlife crisis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, not to put too much of the Darren hat on here, and not to like too seriously suggest this is a profound statement on like where the Final Destination movies come from. I think it is very telling that like 2 years before the first Final Destination releases, you have Martin Brest make Meet Joe Black, which is Death Takes a Holiday. Like it is a very like end of the millennium, fin to cycle, end of history kind of thing where it's like even death is fucking bored of this peace and prosperity. Even death is like so tired of things just being nice and good all the time. Even death has to just like needs to take a break, needs to flex a bit, you know?
In 1999, we got the game Grim Fandango, which is about that same thing. Literally the avatar of death, like who's just sick of his job because it's become like so rote and corporate and he like needs to find a release. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the threat of nuclear war is no longer doing it for me because it's no longer a serious concern. Humanity is no longer edging me, so it's like, what am I gonna do? It's like
they could have just waited 20 years and existed now in constant terror of everything, and everything would have been fine. Double finger, thank you so much for the dono. I don't understand Hollywood's obsession with this "I'm the author of your pain" trope. Has that ever actually worked in a convincing way? It's a cool sounding thing. or someone to say
that's along the conversations of kind of like torture porn horror of like, you know, the Saw
the
movies.
Destiny and the Fate and the family.
Yeah, but that
idea
also might have been. I think that's literally a line in one of the Mission Impossibles. Like Ethan,
no, it's
I've been
James
the
Bond.
author.
It's Spectre. It's
Spectre.
Spectre. It's Blofeld. It's Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
Also, I'm your adopted brother.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Really, you forgot about Spectre?
I think there's some interesting gold to mine within that realm of like, you know, kind of talking about like becoming obsessed with revenge and like, you know, like having something that like what's that phrase is like hate is not the opposite of love, apathy is. And but you know, if you hate something, you intrinsically do love it, you are consumed by it. And so there is some interesting dynamics in there, but a lot of times you just have to boil it down to the base plate of like, I'm gonna cut you with the paper. And I don't know why Sling Blade is cutting you with the paper.
Cider blade. Shout out to Billy Bob. Hope he's doing well. Friend of the show, Billy Bob.
Billy Bob?
No. No.
Enemy of the show.
I do not accept his friendship.
I'm trying to think. Is there an example of that works? And it's like the only example I can think of are like comic book characters and minor comic book characters where it's like Wolverine and Sabretooth, and that dynamic has never worked on screen. Right. But like in the comics, there is that sense of like Sabretooth is like, I just really hate this guy and I've hated him for all of time. And maybe we're related, but I don't know. We're not going to get into that kettle of fish. But like,
I guess the Joker-Batman relationship a little bit, like one can't exist without the other. I don't know if that's like a different thing though.
You kind of have like the Tim Burton effect of you're gonna say I made you, you made me. I mean, who's gonna blame each other? I'm trying to think. Is there an example it's a very good question because it feels like there should be because the trope is so common and so ubiquitous and like so inescapable. But like I can't think of one, and even like
I feel like it's something you need to lay the seeds for very early and have it actually pay off, which is very difficult to do. It's like Agent Smith and Neo.
Ooh, that's actually a pretty decent one, and I know that'll be controversial because people don't like those movies, but I think it's a good one.
I'm seeing images in my head of like a hero villain dynamic, and I'm trying desperately to place them in which, you know, like it is that it's Batman and Joker, but from Lego Batman. It's Batman and Joker from the Lego Batman movie, in which, you know, Joker is a little obsessed with, you know, kind of like being in love with Bruce. I think that dynamic works. I have another one, I think, where it's that hero villain dynamic, and it does end a little awkwardly, where the villain just admits that they're kind of in love with the hero, that they need the hero. Yeah.
I mean, we'll obviously talk about it more next episode, but I think Andor has the final confrontation between Cyril and Cassian has this incredible moment where one character has been consumed by needing to find and kill this person. And when they finally meet, the other person says, "Who are you?" That's the only thing he says to him. So like one person has been so obsessed for years, and the other person's like, I literally do not know who you are.
And you're right. Like to one of those characters, the other is the author of all their suffering. Like the character who is obsessed is like, the one thing that went wrong in my life was I met this dude. Was this
Cassian,
dude?
That day was just a Tuesday.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Oh my God, is that the example?
No. I have a better example.
Okay.
Memento. They are the author of their self pain. Like it's a little word, but I think Memento is a really good example of kind of like someone who becomes so obsessed with something that they literally start inflicting it on themselves.
I guess, and because of their malady, they have to. Like
and
literally,
with the tattoos, they are literally the author.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to end on Andor.
You did it. You were going to come and be like, drop that Fred. As long as you can get the last.
He is the author of all her sorrows.
Last two super chats. Raven with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. I'm going to read that in the Tim Allen voice. Here's $5 just for Jack and Adventurous Nye. Now go make another Best of the Worst too. I miss you over there. Thank you, Raven.
Anytime they ask me, I show up. They're hanging out with like celebrities now. They don't need me anymore.
You can bring Billy Bob Thornton, friend of the show. And then the final dono on Ko-Fi. Thank you so much, Pure Pyro. Hello, would love to know your opinion on 2 movies adapted from books, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind and Sphere. I enjoy Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit.
Like, this is the thing with George Clooney, where every movie George Clooney makes, I'm like, is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind secretly bland? Like, where I'm like, did I just misread that movie? Where it's like,
very bland.
No, it's not.
The Confessions of a Dangerous Mind is one of my favorite books. It is a glorious, glorious book. It is part autobiography, part fictional autobiography. Hilarious. It is a hilarious, hilarious read. I think the movie absolutely chopped and bastardized it.
And apparently, it even the original script was Charlie Kaufman, and I think not got chopped up a ton in production.
I think you can see the chop marks. It is not prime cut beef. The book is phenomenal. Sphere is a mid movie and a mid book.
Sphere's Michael Crichton, right? If I'm remembering, yeah. That is. I don't want to. I'm cautious about wading into this. That's a Crichton book. That has some weird stuff with women in it, right?
Not my Michael Crichton.
Okay, somebody never read Disclosure, Marty. But I think Sphere
I've literally only read Jurassic Park of his books.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Jurassic Park is fine. Like, Jurassic Park is, at least as I recall, fine. But I remember reading Sphere and being like, I'm 12 years old, and I think this dude maybe has some issues with women. And then reading Disclosure and being like, hey, 12-year-old Darren was onto stuff.
There you go.
And I also read that one pretty young, so that didn't register with me when I read it.
Yeah.
It's a weirdo premise movie. Let's go underwater and get godlike powers, and then I guess I'll forget about it because we want to. It's stupid. It's a stupid book. It's a stupid movie. It's no Congo. I'll take a Congo. They're laser and raging monkeys in Congo.
Laser and raging monkeys. Title of my sex tape. What does that even mean? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said the title of my favorite prog rock band. Why did I say that? Oh no!
It's canon now.
It's canon now. We've made it to the end of the show. We did it.
Yay.
Jack, what should folks? What about you? What are you doing?
Obviously, you're going to listen to this at some point in the later. Just go watch Adventures Nigh. It's great. I put out because we got a little behind in the animations. I put out a weirdo video of me actually handcrafting a dungeon, just making it up off the top of the old melon using some dungeon crafting dice. Was originally going to be a Patreon exclusive video, but we decided to release it. And I like it. It's a weird video, and it's a weird insight into the things that I genuinely enjoy, which is making up stuff about Draculas. So go watch those things.
Yeah. It was it's on the channel. You can find it. Went up last weekend. Things in my house. Let's make dungeon dice, and it has Jack on the part. If you know what Jack looks like, he's there right on the thumbnail.
Yeah, as somebody who doesn't even do like role playing, I found that like a really good watch, which is
really fun. You said it perfectly. Like, just put it on if you're like washing dishes or something. Just like
because so much of it is just narrative. Like so much of it is like building and like constructing and narrative. Like it's just good storytelling stuff. Like anyway, sorry. It's
appreciate it. Yeah, no, it was a fun one to make. And as a reminder, we get to do these fun things because of all of you lovely people who listen and patronize us, and we get to experiment. And that was an experimental video, and I'm very happy about it. So yeah, great.
Hell yeah, that's great. Yeah. Darren, you got a new episode of The Backdrop in the works that Jesse Schwab will be editing?
Jesse's editing it, and I want to apologize publicly and profusely to Jesse for this. This is one of those things where I've been pitching for years that we do a Doctor Who episode. I being the only person of the team, including myself, Nick, Omar, and Jesse, who is in any way familiar with Doctor Who. And I know from experience, like that is a terrible thing to heap on an editor. So I want to apologize profusely to Jesse for doing that. As I am hovering over his shoulder, sending him random clips from the, at this stage, 62-year history of Doctor Who, but I'm actually really looking forward to that. It's a video I've wanted to do forever. I understand why we didn't do it before, because it is a niche British TV show. So I want to thank Nick for letting me do it, and I want to thank like Jesse for doing it, because I was hoping to get to do it, but time kind of got away from me. I hope it's a good one. It'll be talking about like the modern era of the show, which is obviously going through some interesting stuff, and the way in which it is, a show about the power of mass media, a television show about television as a medium in particular, but also also mass media and culture and its place in like British cultural tradition. I hope it's a good one, and I hope people enjoy it. If only because it might mean I get to do it again.
Can't stop you. You just gotta wait till we all go on vacation again and be like, oh, everyone's out. Make another Tenet video.
That's about to say, like, you think I'm not going to use it to make another Tenet video? Doubling down, baby. Yeah, it's just the first video in backwards.
As someone who has been a Doctor Who fan in the past, I still consider myself a general Who fan, though I have not watched in years. I'm very much looking forward to that. And again, I always like it when it's like, hey, this is, you know what? One for them, one for me. You got one for you now. It's a great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they are all for me, but this one is like exclusively for me.
This is like really great. Burned it.
Yeah. It's like I'm Universal. I'm like, this one is Jurassic World, baby. This one is all me.
Yeah. There you go.
Jesse doing phenomenal work.
Absolutely. I'm in constant awe of our team. And as Jack said, thank you so much to everyone who supports us either live, super chats, memberships, listening on your podcast service of choice, or supporting us on Patreon. That's that Patreon help is what allows us to make things like The Backdrop, allows us to make things like Storycraft, Jess Hoops' new series that Jesse Galena did an incredible job of editing about the sort of marriage of writing and storytelling in video games. A really great episode there. And Jenna did a video again with Jesse with
Puddlegate with Jesse Schwab as the editor.
Puddlegate, the story of the incredibly stupid story of the marketing of Insomniac's first Spider-Man game, and how the look of a puddle from pre-release to release caused some people to get into a stir. And let me tell you, video games, maybe they were a mistake.
I think it's a pretty great deep dive, if you ask me. Great way to dip your toe into.
I think the important part is just to soak it all in.
Yeah.
No one can see me anymore. I'm shaking my head. In disgust, in absolute disgust of both of you.
Well, you think these recommendations are just a wash, Marty?
I could just hit the stop recording button.
You could
I have the power to just stop everything.
You could. You'd make a hell of a splash.
Jesus.
I think
why are you doing this? Why does it stop?
Now I'm just seeing how far I can push you, Marty. Like now
you're just showing the market.
The real big point here is we have so many shows here at Second Wind. We got the whole alphabet, A to Z, H to O. We have all of the shows.
I love that. I love that so much. But I think
H2O. I was thinking of hoe, the word hoe, and I was like, that's kind of mean. I don't know if you call me a hoe. H2O was really good, actually.
It's genius. I love, by the way, that I clocked that immediately. Marty just took a second.
Slack-jawed.
Game recognized game there, Chuck. I think
my mouth was a game. Like fucking fly flew into my mouth while I was processing that.
It's like when improv people impress improv people. It's like you made like inside comedy. It's great, but for puns. But yeah, that said, the point you made is great. Like it's again, I'm honored to be on this channel. It's an incredibly talented pool of people that we're working with.
It really is. It really is. And I know there's some people that were a little concerned about Jenna's animated character. They thought it might be a thirst trap, but I think it's fine.
I find those complaints are wishy-washy myself.
What the fuck is happening? Like did you know this was going to be the thing I was going to say? Like, did you prepare for that? Because I don't have it written down that I'm going to shout out the other videos at the end. So why does this keep happening? For
you
Jack,
just have to puddle through,
for Jack, for Darren, and for one half of Eric, because he was only here for now he was only here for a third of the show because this went very long. I was Marty. Thank you so much for watching the Rewind episode number 21. We appreciate you all, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone. I don't know why to give a thumbs up. You can't see us. Stop waving.
We are waving. We're waving to each other.
Audio medium now. Okay, bye, everyone.